Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. In a cone-shaped house in the middle of the forest, a girl sat next to her master, who was currently resting. The girl had a pretty face, dark brown eyes, dark hair that was tied up in a bun on top of her head, except two bangs hanging down and framing her face. She wore a green shirt with brown pants and a long, brown belt. Another 4 days, and you'll be back to normal, Zabuza-san. The girl said. The next day, the same girl stood up and walked over to the window. Releasing the bun, her hair fell down to just under her shoulder blades. 10 minutes later, the girl was walking into the forest. Now she wore a pink kimono with red cherry blossoms on. She carried a basket and was humming slightly to herself. After an hour of walking, she came upon what she had searched for. Kneeling down, she started to pick medical herbs. Soon her basket was almost full. A bird landed on her shoulder, and she smiled at it, cooing slightly at it before returning to her task. She was startled when the bird suddenly flew off. Feeling slightly down, she followed it with her gaze. She saw the bird land next to a boy with blonde, spiky hair, and a Konoha forehead protector. The girl got up and walked towards him. The bird flew off, as if thinking that the girl was going to kill the boy. Instead, she shook him awake. "Hey, you'll catch a cold sleeping here," she said kindly. Naruto opened his eyes and looked up at the pretty girl. Sitting up, he rubbed his eyes before turning to her. "Hello Nessun, what are you doing here?" he asked. The girl smiled and gestured to her basket. "I'm picking medical herbs," she said with a smile on her face. A little later, Naruto was helping the girl. "So, what were you doing out here?" the girl asked and Naruto grinned. "Training," he said proudly. "So, you are a ninja. Why would you be training? You look very strong already," the girl said. "I want to be even stronger so that I can become Hokage. And I want to make Sakura-chan and Ino-chan proud of me," Naruto said seriously but still cheerfully. "So, you train because of your precious people?" the girl said. "Huh," Naruto replied. "When you have people precious to you, you become stronger when you fight for them," the girl explained. Naruto thought for a bit and remembered all the people he held precious. Iruka, Sandame, the ramen man and his daughter, Tenchi, Rin, Sakura, Ino, and if he was completely honest with himself, Kyuubi. Naruto realized why he wanted to learn the Rasengan so much. He wanted to use it to protect those he cared about. "Yeah, I understand what you mean," he said and the girl smiled. She stood up from where she had crouched down and took her basket. "You will become strong then," she said and walked away. The girl walked for a bit until she heard a voice behind her. "Thank you." That was the motivation he needed. The girl whirled around to see who talked to her. She saw Tenchi step out from behind a tree. "Oh, you scared me. But it was no big deal," the girl said and smiled at Tenchi, who she recognized as the ninja who had almost killed Zabuza. "Even if it wasn't a big deal, Naruto will use what you said, and help him in his training." "Thank you again, Mist Hunter Nin," Tenchi said with a smile, although his eyes were his cold steel. The girl shuddered a little and tried to deny it. "What are you? I smell you. I recognize your smell from the Hunter Nin that saved Zabuza. But don't worry, I won't attack you. I just wanted to thank you, but the next time we meet, we will have to fight," Tenchi said and vanished in a blur. The girl stood there for a bit before composing herself and running back to Zabuza. After the girl left, Naruto began his training again. "I have to do this. For my precious people," he thought. The newfound determination he had helped him double the time he could control the Rasengan, but it still wasn't complete. "What am I missing?" he asked loudly. "Try without the balloon," Tenchi said, appearing behind Naruto. "Huh, okay, if you say so," he replied and held out his hand. Making a sphere appear, he looked at it. Something was amiss. Suddenly a perfect Rasengan came into his vision. Tenchi had made one and held it out to compare it with Naruto's. Look at these two and tell me the difference. He said, and Naruto stared at the two spinning balls of chakra. Then it hit him. Mine is less filled than yours. Naruto said. Right. Mine has more chakra mass, and is better molded. Why don't you try sticking to a tree with chakra while doing the first and second step? That will increase your control and help you a lot. Tenchi said, and Naruto did as he was told. All night and the next day, Naruto stood under a tree branch, bursting balloons filled with water, or rubber balls. 3 days after the encounter with the girl, Naruto stood in front of Tenchi again, looking a lot worse for wear. Are you sure you should be training so hard? Tenchi asked, concerned for his student. Shut up. Now, is it good enough? Naruto asked and made a near-perfect Rasengan in his hand. Tenchi stared for a bit before he smiled and laughed. Almost, but very close though. Yet if you try to attack with it, it won't hold. The layer that holds the chakra inside must be stronger. That tree climbing really helped though. Tenchi said proudly. Naruto beamed before concentrating and continuing the training. Tenchi smiled and shook his head before sitting down and observing the boy. Late in the evening the day after Tenchi's hint on the Rasengan, Naruto got it. He grinned widely while staring at the complete form of the Yondaime Hokage had developed. Rushing towards one of the only unharmed trees in the clearing he was training in, he pushed the ball into the tree trunk. Like with Tenchi, Naruto's Rasengan ate itself into the tree, forming a perfectly round hole. Clapping sounded behind Naruto. Turning around, he saw a smiling Tenchi and a beaming Rin. Very good Naruto, you got it. You mastered Rasengan much faster than I did. Incredible. Tenchi praised me. When we get back to Konoha, I'll make you a celebration dinner. Just for you. Rin said, and despite being very tired, Naruto jumped around in happiness. First he yelled. Yes. Rin-ne-san is making me dinner. Then he landed, and smiled even brighter before running around and yelling, now I can protect my precious people with an amazing. Tenchi and Rin looked a little surprised before smiling with the boy, who suddenly collapsed. Huh, he said. Tenchi sighed and picked him up. You're exhausted. Come on. No reason to stay here now that you have mastered it. Tenchi said and carried Naruto towards Tazuna's house. Not even 2 minutes later, Naruto was asleep. Sakura and Ino sat in their room, looking awkwardly at each other. They had both thought about how they felt after the genjutsu training, more importantly on the part involving them. Was it just the genjutsu, or did I really enjoy it? They thought. Sakura had a slight blush on her face, while Ino suddenly looked determined. Sakura, we have to know. She said. Sakura slowly nodded. Ino smiled slightly, before becoming serious. Standing up and looking very much like a heroine doing a great deed, she walked over to Sakura and kissed her. It only lasted for a few seconds, but just like when they kissed Naruto, they felt what resembled small electric trails on their lips, and both liked it. Smiling again, both shyly, although Ino looked a little less shy, they kissed again. This time it lasted for 15 seconds. When they broke up, Ino sat down next to Sakura. So, Ino began. I liked it. Almost as much as with Naruto-kun. Sakura said slowly. Me too. And hey, we are together also. Ino said while nodding. Sakura looked at her with confusion in her face. Huh? She asked. Well, since both you and I are together with Naruto-kun, and Naruto-kun is together with us, that makes us together as well. A real triangle of love. Ino said happily. Yeah, you're right, although I think we should move a little slowly and perhaps not so very public. Sakura said and Ino nodded. Yeah, you're right, but you know, I always meant you were beautiful. Now we know why. Ino said happily and Sakura smiled. I think you are beautiful also, Ino. So, want another one? She said, a bit red in the face. Ino grinned and the two kissed again. Just then, Inari walked by the open door and saw what they were doing. He promptly passed out from blood loss. Tenchi and Rin walked up to the room that the three genin were staying in. And were met with a rather odd sight. Ino were scolding a blushing Inari for peeking, while Sakura was busy cleaning up some blood from the floor. Tenchi and Rin looked at each other and sighed. Won't ask. Won't ask. Tenchi walked into the room and lay Naruto down on his bed. Let him rest for now. Tenchi said and walked out, Rin following close behind. Tenchi and Rin sat on the roof, hand in hand, gazing at the moon. Tomorrow is going to be a bad day. Rin said and Tenchi nodded. Yeah, I know, he replied. Nothing else was said between the two for a while, until Tenchi turned and looked at Rin. What? She asked, a faint blush on her face. Nothing, just admiring the view. Tenchi said and smiled at her. Cheesy, but nice, Rin said. The two of them laughed for a bit before leaning in and kissing each other. The next day came way too early for Naruto. The sun shone right onto his eyes, and it took a few minutes for him to blink away the weariness. He turned and looked at the clock. Crap, I overslept, he thought, jumped out of bed, ran to the bathroom, got washed, ran back, got dressed, and just as he was strapping his katana onto his back, he heard a yell downstairs. If you touch that child, I'll bite my tongue off and kill myself. That was Tsunami-san. What the? Naruto thought before he felt two unfamiliar chakras. Deciding to help, he snuck out the window, and clung to the wall with chakra. Making his way to the door, which was sliced to pieces, he peered in and saw two looking samurai holding Tsunami hostage and leaving a crying Inari. Quickly hiding, Naruto watched as the two samurai walked out, leading a tied-up Tsunami. Jumping and landing in front of them, Naruto stopped them while drawing his katana. Release her, Naruto commanded. Huh, one of those ninja kids Tazuna hired. One of the samurai said. Let's kill him, the other said. They looked at the Tsunami. If you move, then we will kill your little brat, they said and rushed at Naruto. Inari, who saw all this, ran to his mother as fast and silently as he could. Mom, I'll save you, he said and untied her. Inari, Tsunami said and hugged the boy. Naruto grinned as the samurai rushed at him. Idiots, he said and began his technique with a cage bunshin. Both Naruto and the clone began running towards the samurai. Mikazuki no Mai, they yelled out, and to the samurai it looked like they were divided into four. But just as they struck the rushing genin with a sword slash each, they were surprised when their swords passed right through. They managed to half-turn and see Naruto and the cage bunshin descend upon them from the sky before they were cut from the right shoulder to the left hip. The cage bunshin puffed away and Naruto nearly threw up. He had made his first kill. Damn, so this is how it feels to kill. To end someone's life. I think I'm going to be sick, Naruto thought, and before he could really control himself he threw up. Inari and Tsunami, who had been watching, ran over to him, being careful not to step in the blood pool from the two dead samurai. Naruto-kun, are you alright? Tsunami asked the still retching boy. He shook his eyes and looked at the two bodies before closing his eyes. I heard that the first kill was bad, but this, damn, Naruto said and sat down. Looking at his shaky hand, his voice almost broke. This hand ended someone's life. Now I know why Rin-ne-san said Tenchi Sensei had to remove his emotions. He must have been so sad. Tsunami and Inari looked at each other. They whirled back when Naruto stood up and shook his head. I can't sit here and feel sorry for myself. If they attack here, maybe they'll attack the bridge. I'll just clean this up a bit, Naruto said and made some cage bunshin. Tsunami noted that Naruto's hands still shook slightly. The clones picked up the two bodies and carried them out on the water. Naruto followed and made some hand seals. Kaden, Gukaku no, he called out, and the fireball incinerated the bodies. When he was done, he walked back to the two. He noticed Inari looking slightly afraid. Don't worry Inari, I won't hurt you, Naruto reassured, and Inari smiled at him. Naruto turned in the direction of the bridge. I'll have to go now. Be careful, Okay, he said, but didn't give the Inari or Tsunami a chance to respond. What? What is this? Tazuna yelled. Tenshi, Rin, Sakura and Ino had arrived at the bridge and were met with the sight of the workers laying there, either unconscious or killed. This is, Ino said. Form the ring. Tenshi commanded. The ninjas formed a protective ring around Tazuna, each pulling out a kunai while getting ready. Then a thick mist came rolling in. Kurigakure no. Zabuza's voice came throughout the mist. I hate this. Ino growled. Oh, the little genin has some spunk. Zabuza said, and suddenly 10 Mizu Bunshin of Zabuza appeared around them. Go Ino. Tenshi said. She smirked, did a hand seal and vanished, leaving her weights behind. When she reappeared, the Mizu Bunshin got severe slashes on their bodies and fell down into puddles of water. Oh, she has grown. Zabuza said, and the mist cleared a bit and there stood the real Zabuza with the hunter nin next to him. I taught them how to release their weights in a second. Really useful. Rin said. It looks like you have a rival for speed, Haku. Zabuza said, and Haku, the hunter nin, nodded. Indeed. Haku said. Tenshi then noticed someone else behind Zabuza. Zabuza noticed Tenshi looking at the person and chuckled. Ah, so you have spotted the addition to my team. This is Kato's. Kato's, why don't you say hello? Zabuza said. Kato's stepped forward. He was a small kid, brown hair and eyes, wearing pure black clothes and a black mask. His face was completely devoid of emotion. Rin gasped when she saw that. He looks like Tenshi when we were younger. She said, and Tenshi nodded. Except for the eyes. He replied. Kato's looked at Tenshi, before vanishing. He reappeared in front of Tenshi, hitting him in the stomach. Tenshi didn't have time to guard and was thrown slightly back. Just as fast as Kakashi, Rin said. Tenshi coughed and stood up. Kato's is completely devoted to me, and he is stronger than me as well. Zabuza said proudly. Kato's didn't show any emotion while getting praised. Instead, he threw another punch towards Tenshi, but this time he caught it. Tenshi growled and started to crush Kato's fist. You might be fast, but I have the advantage purely strength-wise. Tenshi said, and Kato's tried to get away. A cracking sound started to come before Kato's managed to pull his hand away and jump back to Zabuza. Oh, you got Kato's to retreat. That is really something. But tell me, why do your eyes glow like that? Zabuza asked, referring to Tenshi's blue glow. But Tenshi didn't answer. He, like Kato's, didn't show any emotion anymore. Rin shuddered slightly before regaining her composure. Ino, you fight Haku. Rin, you fight Kato's while I fight Zabuza. Sakura, you guard Tazuna. Tenshi commanded. Ino, Rin and Sakura nodded. Oh, and Rin, be careful. Tenshi said, a speck of concern in his voice before returning to his cold self. Well, it seems you really want to fight. Very well. You know your opponents. Zabuza said to his two companions, who nodded. The first to move was Haku. She rushed at Ino with a long needle. Ino blocked with her kunai and tried to kick Haku, who blocked with her own foot. Looks like we are at a stalemate. Ino said, but Haku shook her head. No, I have two advantages. First, I have occupied one of your hands, then there is the water around us. She said and started forming one-handed seals. Rin gasped when she saw it. One-handed? I have never seen that before. She said. I haven't heard about it before either. Sakura replied. Haijutsu. Sensatsu Susho. Secret technique. Flying water needles, Haku called, and the water around her rose up and turned to ice needles. The needles flew towards Ino, and just before they hit, Haku jumped away. Ino focused chakra into her legs, and at the same moment Haku jumped, Ino jumped as well, effectively dodging the needles. Ino appeared behind and threw her kunai towards Haku. Haku blocked the kunai, but couldn't block the kick. Haku was sent sprawling to the ground. Ino smirked but became serious when Haku vanished and almost stabbed Ino from the back. Ino allowed herself to fall forward, and while in the motion, she drew her two wakizashi. Spinning while staying crouched, Ino slashed at Haku, who managed to jump away from the slash. Haku spun and tried to appear like a tornado. She had several in her hands, making her spin motion very dangerous. Ino jumped away and bit her thumb. Forming seals, she slammed her hand into the ground and yelled, "No!" After the customary cloud passed, a large wolf with black fur stood there. "What is Ino-sama?" the wolf asked. "Help me fight that girl." Ino yelled and the wolf nodded. The wolf charged at Haku, who dodged to the right, but she hadn't seen Ino follow the wolf and she was rewarded with a slash to the head. Fortunately for Haku, her reflexes let her only get a deep cut in her mask, but not deep enough to cut through. Jumping away, Haku formed a lot of seals. Taju Sensatsu Susho. Mass flying water needles, she said, and a lot more water rose up into the air and formed needles. But Haku didn't aim for Ino. She aimed for the wolf. The sheer number of needles was too much for the wolf to dodge, and it was forced to go back to the dimension it was summoned from. "Now it is just you and me," Haku said. Ino frowned. "Damn, I wasted all that chakra just to nick her mask." Ino asked herself. "You didn't waste it. I don't want to kill you and it isn't anything personal, but you showed me that I can't hold back. This is the end," Haku said and formed some weird seals. Haijutsu. Makyu Hyusho. Secret technique. Demonic ice mirrors, Haku called, and the water around Ino rose up and formed mirrors of ice. Several mirrors of ice, arranged into a sphere around Ino. Haku walked up to one of the mirrors and melted into it. "What is that?" Rin asked. "Haku, she has a bloodline limit." Tenchi asked and Zabuza nodded. "That is Haku's ultimate. Your little blonde won't be able to survive it. No one has beaten it, ever." Zabuza bragged. "Nothing is as boring as bragging. Let's go," Tenchi said. Zabuza chuckled and the mist thickened around them. "You may be the white wolf, but I am the superior when it comes to killing without sight," Zabuza said. Tenchi sighed and blocked 3 shuriken that Zabuza threw. "Oh, good. To be able to deflect those shuriken." As expected, Zabuza's voice boomed. A few moments of silence followed before Tenchi hurled himself to the ground, just missing a slash from Zabuza. But when Tenchi whirled around to slash with his kunai, Zabuza was gone. He reappeared behind Tenchi and slashed with a kunai. Tenchi managed to catch the slash with his hand, but was awarded with a deep cut. Again before he could counter, Zabuza vanished. Annoying, Tenchi thought before closing his eyes. Rin looked at her opponent, who hadn't moved a muscle for a long while. But when the mist started to thicken, he disappeared. "Shit!" Rin cursed and formed a seal. "Kage Bunshin no," she called, and several clones surrounded her. Kato's didn't even flinch and just started ripping the clones apart. "He's fast and strong," Rin thought and blocked a punch. Kato's flipped and threw a kick towards Rin's face. She dodged and tried to counter, but Kato's was too fast. He vanished deeper into the mist. "Damn, he knows taijutsu is what I'm worst at," Rin thought and looked around, but she couldn't see her little opponent. Ino looked around inside the dome of ice mirrors. In every mirror, there was an image of Haku holding several needles. "What, Bunshin?" Ino wondered out loud. She was answered by a shower of needles, all cutting her. Ino's scream of pain was heard by everyone on the bridge. She had no way to guard. The needles came from every direction, seemingly at the same time. Ino tried to see when Haku threw the needles, but the mist nin moved too fast. All Ino could see was a blur in front of the mirrors and she felt a new cut. Ino started to get desperate. She wiped some blood from one of her cuts and started making seals. "No," she called, but before she could finish the seals, needles stood out of her arms and the pain made it so that she couldn't move them. "Damn, what now?" Ino thought. "Sorry, but I can't allow you to escape this," Haku said and prepared to launch more needles. But before she could, a shuriken came flying towards her. The shuriken pierced the mask of all the mirror images, including the real Haku. Ino blinked as Naruto appeared beside her. He smiled at her and started pulling out the needles. Hey, a hero arrives late, right? Naruto asked with a big grin. Ino resisted the urge to hit him. Instead she sighed and looked at Haku. She had landed on the ground in front of one of the mirrors, and all the images were gone. Haku looked up and her mask fell in pieces. Naruto gasped when he saw who it was. You are the girl from the forest. Naruto said and Haku nodded. The only injury the shuriken had given her was a small cut in the forehead, her mask saving her life. When I met you there, you didn't recognize me, but now you do. I am Haku, and I am going to finish you here. Haku said and melted into the mirror behind her. The mirror images came back, and before Naruto or Ino knew anything, they were hit with dozens of needles. Their screams were terrifying. Tenchi closed his eyes and concentrated on the sounds and smells around him. He couldn't hear Zabuza anywhere. Ino's screams weren't helping either. Tenchi's ears perked when he heard the sound of shuriken flying and hitting something in the area of the mirror dome. Hey, a hero arrives late, right? Naruto's voice came. Good, now Ino has a much better chance of survival. Tenchi mumbled to himself. What does it matter if another of your brats shows up? They can't win. Not even Konoha's precious copy Ninja Kakashi could win against Haku's. Zabuza bragged. Tenchi didn't answer. Ever since Haku was a kid, I taught her all of my fighting skills. All of my I passed down to her, and she surpassed even me. The terrifying ability of an advanced bloodline. The scrap that follows you around, won't even put a dent in Haku's. Zabuza bragged. They heard a grunt from Rin as she got hit with a strong punch. And Kato's is even stronger. That bitch won't last long against him. He surpassed me long before Haku did. A living weapon, no thoughts or feelings other than those that I have. Why don't we just sit back and listen to the screams from your students? Zabuza asked. The answer was a hail of shuriken. Doesn't look like you want to kick back and relax. Oh well, I'll kill you then, Zabuza said confidently. Kato's appeared in front of Rin and punched her hard in the stomach. She grunted and stepped backwards, but Kato's followed up with several punches. How he could see her and hit her, Rin had no idea of, but Kato's did, even in the mist. At this rate, I won't last long. Rin thought before she caught a glance of her opponent. There he is. Rin thought and her hands were surrounded by a blue glow. Rin rushed forwards and hit Kato's in the arm. No grunt of pain came, but Rin knew she had severed some muscles. This is the best I can do. These chakra scalpel won't do much damage, but that is all I can do for now. Rin thought. Kato's hit her in the chest, trying to break a rib or two, but Rin quickly cut as many muscles and tendons in his arm as she could. Kato's didn't give any indication that he was injured, other than his now limp arms. He jumped back into the mist. If only I could find him, then I could win. But I have to see him before I can attack. Arg, I hate this mist. Rin thought while looking around for Kato's. Naruto and Ino were on their knees, panting with a lot of needles sticking out of their bodies. Ino-chan, how do we get out of this? Naruto asked. If I knew that I wouldn't be in this mess, would I? Ino yelled back. Naruto tried to scratch his head, but his hand wouldn't move right. What have you tried then? Naruto asked. Summoning didn't work. Using shuriken or kunai won't work and we can't get close enough to use our blades. She is too fast for me to see, so I can target her with my family. I haven't tried the wind bullet though. Perhaps if we can break one of the mirrors, then we could get out. Can you protect me while I do the seals? Ino asked. Naruto grinned and nodded. Sure thing, he said and Ino smiled before starting her seals sequence. Haku saw it and tried to hit Ino with needles, but Naruto made several cage bunshin and made a dome of clones around Ino, blocking her from Haku. When Haku destroyed one clone, a new one took its place. Naruto, get away, Ino yelled. Naruto and his clones jumped away just as Ino drew her breath and shot out 3 transparent balls of wind and chakra. Futon. Te Tama, Ino called. Naruto smiled at the display his girlfriend showed, but the smile faded when the mirror broke easily. Ino-chan, protect me. Naruto called while gathering the remaining kage bunshin around him. He then started making seals. Kaden. Gukaku no, Naruto called and a powerful fireball blasted from his mouth and hit the mirrors, but it didn't do much more than Ino's wind. You can't melt this with that low level. Haku said and sent a shower of needles towards Naruto, but his kage bunshins blocked them, popping away into clouds of smoke. The smoke made it difficult to see, both for Naruto and Ino, but also for Haku. Naruto, now, didn't you learn some Raiden from Kakashi-sensei? Ino asked and Naruto nodded while performing seals. Raikyu no. Naruto called and a ball of electricity formed in his hands. He threw it at one of the mirrors, but it didn't do anything. Damn, that didn't work either. Any ideas for Ino-chan? Naruto asked but Ino shook her head. Why can't you see that it is useless? Haku asked. Naruto and Ino looked at each other before snorting. We never give up. Ino said confidently. I have a dream, to become Hokage and protect my precious people. I can't die here, Naruto said, mirroring Ino's confidence. I see, so you fight for your dream as well. Well, I fight for mine too. My dream of being important to my precious person. For that I will destroy my heart and kill you. Haku said and held up a needle. Destroy your heart? Ino asked, and Naruto looked down on the ground. Wolf, why don't you go and help your trash students? They can never defeat Haku. They can't destroy their hearts. Zabuza bragged. Was the only reply Tenchi gave as he ran in a rectangular pattern, placing tags on the ground. He then jumped into the middle of the rectangle. I don't know what it was you just did, but it is useless. Zabuza said and moved towards Tenchi. Just as he went past the invisible border between the tags, chakra suddenly engulfed him and held him in place. Die, Tenchi calmly said before plunging a kunai into Zabuza's head. Yes, to be able to kill for the first time, one must destroy one's heart. To take another's life is the way of the ninja. Haku said and Ino noticed Naruto's downtrodden look. Naruto, what is it? Ino asked. I have destroyed my heart. I am nothing but a murderer. Naruto said, still not looking up. What are you? Ino asked. I killed them. 2 samurai that were going to kidnap Tsunami-san. I killed them in cold blood. Naruto said and looked up at Haku. And if that is to be a ninja, then so be it. You threatened Ino-chan's life. For that I will kill you. Naruto said, his eyes became red with slits. Yuto, Ino stuttered when she saw his eyes. Kit, stop it. You are drawing on my chakra. You really want to kill that girl that much? Kyuubi asked. Yes. Naruto answered out loud and directed Kyuubi's chakra into his legs. Holding his hand out, Naruto started forming the Rasengan. For some reason, Haku didn't attack. Naruto didn't notice, but he gave off a huge killing intent, startling everyone on the bridge, except 2 living weapons. Tenchi's kunai plunged into Zabuza's head, spraying forth water. Mizu Bunshin Tenchi thought. You didn't really think I would be defeated that easily. Fool. Zabuza said and prepared to attack Tenchi again when Naruto's killing intent and the feel of Kyuubi's chakra swept over the bridge. What is that? Tenchi. No, it has a completely different feel to it. Zabuza thought, looking around to see what it was. Naruto, Kyuubi, Tenchi thought before focusing on Zabuza, who had accidentally let some of the mist evaporate. I have to end this now. Tenchi thought while doing seals and biting his thumb. Pulling out a scroll, he unrolled it and smeared some blood on it before slamming it into the ground. Doden. Suiga no earth tracking fang, Tenchi mumbled and several odd lines went out of the scroll and into the ground. Tenchi panted a little from using an element he didn't have an affinity with. Zabuza was still trying to sense what was happening when suddenly the bridge under him exploded and several wolves of varying sizes erupted from the ground and bit onto him. Zabuza couldn't move an inch. If sight and hearing doesn't work, use smell. My wolves went after the smell of my blood on your weapons. Now you won't be able to escape. Tenchi said, and a blue ball formed in his hand. Rasengan. Zabuza, you are pretty famous. You tried to take over the hidden mist, but when you failed, you escaped. You began working for scum like Gaitu to get away from the hunter nuns. The man you are trying to kill, Tazuna-san, is important to this whole country. Your ambition sacrifices too many people. Also, you have done something I really hate. Tenchi said, his tone cold and hard. Oh, can you even feel anything? Zabuza asked, the mist clearing even more, so both could see each other. You have turned two children into what I am. Living weapons. Children shouldn't be made to suffer that. That is something I can't forgive. Haku and Kato's. Being forced to destroy their emotions, it isn't something anyone should do, not even a shinobi. Tenchi said. I don't care. As long as I can accomplish my goal, I'm happy. Zabuza replied. Wrong. You are going to die here. Tenchi said coldly and started running towards Zabuza. Rasengan ready to tear into the man. Rin felt Naruto's killer intent in Kyuubi's chakra, and shivered. Has the seal broken? No, but Naruto is pulling chakra from Kyuubi. Why? Rin asked herself. Kato's looked towards the dome of mirrors before turning back to Rin. It seems I have to end this now. Rin said and started forming seals. Futon. Kamedachi no Jutsu. Slashing wind technique, Rin called and waved her hand towards Kato's. A strong wind picked up and slashed towards Kato's, who dodged out of the way and ran towards Rin, who countered with 5 air bullets. None of which hit. Damn, this kid is too much. Rin thought and blocked a kick. The Rasengan was complete, and Naruto rushed towards Haku. He used Kyuubi's chakra to push himself up to insane speeds, and seemingly in the blink of an eye, Naruto smashed his Rasengan into the mirror. The ice mirror shattered, but Haku had managed to get away. She tried to impale Naruto with a bundle of needles, but Naruto flipped away. Haku tried desperately to get away from the enraged genin, but Naruto caught her wrist. He dragged Haku towards him and was about to kill her when Ino shouted. Stop it, Naruto-kun. Don't do it. This isn't you. Naruto froze and his Rasengan dissipated. Haku let out a relieved sigh before Naruto punched her so hard that she flew out of the dome of mirrors. After she, rather forcibly, left the dome, all of the mirrors started to break up. Naruto walked over to Ino, his eyes returning to their usual blue color. I'm sorry I scared you, Ino-chan. Naruto said, and Ino smiled weakly at him. It's okay, that was just so intense. I don't want you to become the monster Konoha thinks you are. You are Naruto, not a demon who kills without feeling anything. Ino said, and Naruto helped her up. They walked towards Haku, who had just managed to get herself on her feet again. You know you called Sensei a demon now, right? Naruto asked while walking, and Ino gasped. Oops. Don't tell him, okay. Ino said, and Naruto nodded. They reached Haku, who looked sad. Why didn't you kill me? Haku asked, and Naruto thought for a bit. I don't know. Ino-chan made me realize that I wasn't myself, and that if I killed you, I would regret it for the rest of my life. Even though I beat you, you still have much to live for. Naruto said. Haku sighed and looked down on the ground. Some people do that. Don't kill their enemies out of pity. You are wrong though, I don't have a purpose anymore. Haku said silently. What do you mean? Ino asked. I have a bloodline limit. Back where I come from, we with special powers were hated. My mother, who also carried the same bloodline I have, lived with my father hoping that he would never learn what she had. But one day he did learn that my mother and I carried what was cursed in that land. So he killed my mother and tried to kill me. When I woke, my father was dead, killed by me. I was all alone, no one wanted me. But then Zabuza-san and Kato's-kun came, and Zabuza-san took me in. He wanted me for my power, wanted me to be a weapon, a tool for him. I was finally wanted in the world. But Zabuza-san has no use for a weak tool. I don't have a purpose anymore. Now that you have beaten me, please, finish me. Kill me now, Haku said in a sad but even tone. Naruto and Ino stared in disbelief at her words. But, no, Naruto began. You can find another purpose. You don't have to die here. Ino said, but Haku shook her head. No one would want me, a living weapon and a killing machine with a cursed bloodline. Not now that I have been proven weak. Haku said. That's not true. Sensei, Tenshi Sensei, he is a living weapon as well. But he has a life now, he knows. He can take care of you, help you build a life again. You can't do this, throw your life away like this. Ino argued. She didn't know why she wanted the mist to live so badly, she just knew that trying to help was the right thing to do. But I tried to kill you. Why would you try to save my life? Haku asked, confusion clear in her voice. It was your mission, right? If we meet outside of missions, we would become friends. I remember in the woods. You were so nice then, even knowing I was an enemy. Naruto said, and Haku stared at him. True, it was my mission, but, Haku began, but Ino cut her off. No buts. If Zabuza doesn't want you anymore, just because you aren't an invincible tool, then you are better off without him. Ino said firmly. Haku began, but then the mist lifted, and their attention turned to Tenshi and Zabuza, who were held in place by a lot of wolves. What the? Rasengan, Naruto said when he saw Tenshi's. They gasped when Tenshi started running towards Zabuza. Zabuza-san, Haku yelled and started to rush towards her master. Kato's was in the middle of a charge towards Rin when they heard the growls coming from the wolves that held Zabuza. The two of them looked around when the mist lifted, Rin slightly surprised that Kato's managed to get within 5 feet of her before she knew it. When Kato's saw Zabuza held by the wolves, and Tenshi rushing towards his target, Kato's panicked. Completely ignoring Rin, Kato's vanished. Tenshi thrust his Rasengan forward, and hit something, but not Zabuza. He hit Kato's, who had reappeared right in front of his master, taking the full blow. The Rasengan ate its way into Kato's chest, sending blood spewing forth. The last thing Kato's did before dying was to grab Tenshi's arm and say in a raspy voice, Zabuza-san. This kid, his hand won't let go, Tenshi thought. Just then, the wolves holding Zabuza popped away. Tenshi glanced back at his scroll. It was hit by several needles, thrown by Haku. I'm going to die. Wrong. You are. Ah, what a useful tool I have, presenting me with this opportunity, even after dying. Die, wolf. Zabuza yelled and swung his sword towards Tenshi, who vanished and reappeared at a slight distance away, putting down Kato's body. Hey, with Kato's dead, you can move. Too bad, I just have to kill you then. Zabuza said and charged Tenshi, who hit him in the face with a backhand. Haku stared at the scene in front of her. Kato's was dead, and Zabuza was locked in combat with Tenshi. Naruto and Ino ran past Haku and up to Sakura. Rin soon joined them. What happened? Rin asked. That boy protected Zabuza, Sakura explained, not feeling well because of all the blood. Are you two alright? Rin asked Naruto and Ino, both who nodded. Yeah, although Naruto-kun scared me with that killing intent. Ino said, and Naruto blushed slightly before he fisted his hand and took a dramatic pose. Ha! I did something that Kakashi-sensei couldn't. I beat Haku in her best. I bet I could have beaten Zabuza also. Soon, I will be Hokage. Naruto said, his arrogance taking new heights. Naruto-kun, aren't you giving yourself a bit too much credit? Ino asked, but Naruto just huffed. No, he said. Zabuza flipped and landed in a crouch, but Tenshi was already on him. 3 kicks and a punch later, Zabuza was panting and retreating away from the attacking Junin. Suddenly Tenshi blurred and a sick crack was heard. Zabuza groaned in pain and ripped his now useless arm out of Tenshi's grip. Tenshi had appeared next to Zabuza and broken his arm in 3 places. One arm down, Tenshi said and blurred again. This time Zabuza swung his sword behind him, trying to kill Tenchi, but Tenchi appeared in front of Zabuza, holding onto Zabuza's neck. Goodbye, devil, Tenchi said and was about to stab two kunai into Zabuza's head when he saw Zabuza swing his sword towards him. Tenchi reacted by rolling to the side and plunging his kunai into Zabuza's arm, rendering it useless. Both, Tenchi said and prepared another kunai. Zabuza groaned and looked up. Suddenly Haku appeared in front of Zabuza. Stop. Don't hurt Zabuza-san anymore. Haku yelled. Tenchi looked at her, almost looking curious. I won't allow you to hurt my precious person anymore. Haku yelled, and for the first time during the fight, Tenchi's face softened up a bit. He was about to say something, when a cold laugh was heard. My oh my, you sure are getting beat up, aren't you, Zabuza? A short man in expensive clothes asked. Behind him were a literal army of thugs and rather rough-looking men. Getu, why are you here? Zabuza asked. Oh, just a little change in plans. You see, I never intended to pay you. Getu said and laughed. What? Zabuza asked. Hiring normal ninjas is expensive, so I hire missing ninjas. Then I dispose of them when they are tired from battle. No one misses a missing nin. But you, what a joke. The demon of the hidden mist. You are just a little puppy demon. Getu said and his thugs laughed at the poor joke. Haku, stand down. Tenchi, I am sorry, but this fight is over. I have no reason to fight you anymore. Zabuza said and Tenchi nodded. Sure. Tenchi replied. Hey Zabuza, should I beat them for you? Naruto yelled. Zabuza, Haku and Tenchi looked at Naruto with empty stares. What? He asked. Hey, the boy has spirit. But that doesn't matter. You will die here, Getu said before his eyes fell on Kato's. Huh, that bastard is dead. Too bad. I wanted to see life leave his eyes. Getu said and Zabuza growled slightly before he removed the bandages around his mouth. Wolf, can I borrow a kunai? Zabuza asked. Tenchi responded by pulling out a kunai and flipping it towards Zabuza. He caught the kunai in his mouth and ran towards the group of thugs. Getu panicked and ran behind his thugs. Haku called after Zabuza but he didn't respond. Cutting through the group of thugs, Zabuza went after Getu, who turned and just saw a flash and had a kunai embedded in his stomach. Zabuza pushed the kunai deeper into Getu, ignoring the pain he had from the multiple weapons stuck in his back from the thugs. I'm a puppy, huh? Well, even a puppy demon can go to hell and become a real devil. You and I are going to hell together. Zabuza said and pulled out the kunai. He then spun around Getu and severed his head. As Getu's body slumped to the ground, Zabuza glared at the thugs around him. They shivered and backed up. Zabuza began walking back towards Haku, when he lost his strength and fell down. Tenchi appeared next to him and grabbed him. They disappear and reappear next to Haku. Tenchi and Haku pulled out the weapon stuck in Zabuza's body. Gently laying Zabuza down, Tenchi stepped back a bit. Thanks, Wolf, Zabuza said. Tenchi replied with a nod. Haku took Zabuza's head and laid it in her lap. She was crying, knowing that he would die soon. Haku, I want you to promise me something. Zabuza said softly. What, Zabuza-san? Haku asked, sniffing slightly. Live. Be a happy girl and live. Find a new purpose, and new precious people. I don't want you to end up as me, or Kato's, or Wolf. We are just empty shells of humans, and I don't want you to become like that. Zabuza said and Haku nodded. I will try, Zabuza-san. She said. Zabuza smiled at her before turning his head and looking at Tenchi. Wolf, can I ask you something? Zabuza said and coughed up some blood. Tenchi replied with a nod. Is it possible, for Haku to come to Konoha with you? Zabuza asked. Tenchi's eyes widened before narrowing slightly. Why do you ask? Tenchi asked, slightly suspicious. I know Konoha is a good place to live. I want Haku to live as well as possible, and I know that you can take care of her, and teach her how to be a shinobi and a human with emotions. Zabuza said. Tenchi looked between Haku and Zabuza. Do you want to come to Konoha? Tenchi asked. Haku slowly nodded. Alright, I can talk to Hokage-sama, and at least get her citizenship. Tenchi said and Zabuza smiled. Thank you. Haku, I want you to stay with Wolf, at least at first. He is a good man, when not in his cold mode, and it will do you good. Zabuza said, and Haku nodded before looking at Tenchi. If it is okay with him. She said and Tenchi nodded before turning and looking at the group of thugs. Thanks, Haku, for everything. Live well, Zabuza said as his life left him. When she saw he was dead, Haku cried. Naruto, Sakura, Ino, Rin and Tazuna looked and listened in on the conversation. Rin was happy that Tenchi allowed Haku to come with them, showing that he could show some humanity when in his weapon state. So, she will come with us? Ino asked and Rin nodded. Sure. She only attacked us because of her mission. No personal feelings involved. Rin said and Naruto smiled. Good, but if she tries anything, I'll kick her butt. He said. Naruto, quit the arrogant superior style. It doesn't suit you. Sakura said harshly. Huh? Naruto asked. What she means, kid, is that even though you are super strong, you aren't the best, and you certainly aren't invincible. Tazuna said. Naruto didn't reply, instead he crossed his arms and huffed. But their attention was dragged from the crying Haku to the thugs, when one of the thugs stepped forward. Damn ninja, you killed our meal ticket. Because of that, we have to kill you and take everything of value in that village, the thug said. The band of thugs started to run forward, when an arrow hit the ground in front of them. Everyone turned and looked at the assembly of villagers. It looked like everyone was gathered there, Inari and Tsunami in front. If you take one more step towards this village, we will respond with hostility. One of the villagers yelled. Everyone, Tazuna said happily. Hey, a hero arrives late, right? Inari asked and Naruto laughed. Well done Inari. You gathered everyone, he asked and the little boy nodded. Well then, I'll help. Naruto said and made a lot of kage bunshin. Tenchi looked at his student before doing the same. Rin also formed some clones of her own. The sight of the whole village and a lot of ninjas scared the shit out of the thugs, which ran away as fast as they could. Yay! We won! Inari yelled while jumping in the air. Everyone celebrated, except two people. Tenchi's eyes stopped glowing and returned to their warm brown before he knelt next to Haku and Zabuza's body. Tenchi didn't say or do anything, but apparently his presence helped Haku, since gradually her tears stopped. We have to bury him, Haku said, her voice thick and strained. I know, Tenchi replied and laid a hand on Haku's shoulder. For what it is worth, I'm sorry. I hope that in time, you and I can learn to trust each other, like Zabuza wanted. But, no pressure. Take your time, Tenchi said. He gave Haku a slight but sad smile, which she slowly and very shakily returned. The next day, the funeral for Zabuza was held. Any injury the group had was healed by Rin. Team 7, Rin, Tazuna, Inari and Tsunami looked at the cross which signified Zabuza's grave. Behind the cross, Zabuza's sword stood. Haku was kneeling in front of the cross, wearing a black kimono. She had decided to stay in civilian clothing, and hadn't bothered to fix her ninja outfit. Zabuza-san, I will go to Konoha, and live my life as I wish there. Haku said and bowed to the grave. Sensei, is it true? Does shinobi have to kill their hearts? Sakura asked. Tenchi closed his eyes and sighed. He waited until Haku stood up and turned to face him before answering. Naruto should know now. Killing someone else is horrible. You feel disgusted, scared, angry, and so many other emotions when you have made your first kill. Of course it depends on the person, but generally the first kill is horrible. I am actually impressed with Naruto. He managed to shake off the feelings and focus on the task at hand. That shows much willpower. But Naruto shouldn't think he is a cold-blooded murderer because of that. When you kill, but don't feel anything, then you are a cold murderer, and depending on how many you kill, a demon as well. Killing should be avoided and only be the last option. Sakura, to answer your question, no. A shinobi doesn't have to destroy his or her heart, but what is necessary is to have enough willpower to be able to deal with the feelings that come after killing. Only those that kill the most should do anything close to destroying their feelings. Tenchi said seriously. Someone like you? Ino asked and Tenchi nodded. Well, I am considered a weapon for a reason. He replied. Haku looked at him curiously after that. A week passed after the attack. It was spent working on the bridge. All the workers came back and helped. Team 7, Rin and Haku also spent the time getting to know each other. Tenchi was annoyed at Naruto's new arrogance, which he thankfully kept at least slightly subdued. Haku was sad for most of the week, feeling like her only family was gone. But a conversation with Tenchi helped her start to accept Tenchi, Sakura, Ino, Naruto and Rin as her friends. Flashback. Haku was sitting on the roof of Tezuna's house, staring at the sunset. Tenchi came up behind her and sat down next to her. Do you hate me? He asked. Haku looked shocked at him. Huh? She asked. Tenchi looked up at the sky and sighed. I destroyed Zabuza's arms. If he had been able to use them, he wouldn't have been killed by those thugs. Tenchi said, his poorly disguised guilt not difficult for Haku to hear. Haku looked down and sighed. True, but he chose to fight you, he chose to charge those thugs. I don't hold a grudge against you. You don't hold a grudge against me for almost killing your students either. Haku said and Tenchi smiled. Thank you. I would hate it for you to hate me. We are actually quite similar, the two of us. Naruto and Ino told me about your past. How you were trained as a living weapon. I was trained from when I was 2 years old, trained to be a weapon for Konoha. I know how it feels, and I think that is why Zabuza wants you to come with me. He knew I had survived, and I can help you forget how it is to be a living weapon. My team, Rin, a lot of people in Konoha. If you allow us, we can help you. Make your existence not so empty or lonely. Tenchi said. Haku looked at him thoughtfully. She felt understood by the man next to her. It felt good. End flashback. Tenchi-san, when are we going to Konoha? Haku asked, sitting next to Tenchi at the dinner table. When the bridge is finished, about 1 or 2 days from now. Are you nervous? Tenchi asked and Haku nodded slightly. Don't worry Haku-san, you'll love Konoha. It's great, as long as you don't have a fox in your stomach. Naruto said, the last bit with slight anger. Huh? Haku asked, but Tenchi's coughing stopped any further response. Nothing. Naruto just wasn't treated very nice, or rather, very badly, for something he couldn't control. Like you Haku, Tenchi said, and Haku looked at Naruto. He looked down on his plate, but didn't say anything. An uncomfortable silence followed. This isn't funny. Tezuna said and Inari nodded in agreement. The next day, the bridge was finished. Tenchi smiled when he looked at it. It will stand for a long time. He thought. He then felt Rin behind him. She wrapped her hands around his waist. Finally we are finished. Now we can go back home. I miss Konoha. Rin said and Tenchi nodded before turning towards her. What I miss is seeing the sunset with you from the Hokage monument. I look forward to seeing that again. Tenchi said and kissed Rin. Hey, you big softy. Rin said teasingly. Tenchi chuckled at that. Would you like it if I changed? He asked and Rin shook her head. Nope, she said. The pair laughed together while enjoying their time together. Thanks to you, this bridge was completed, but this is super sad. Tezuna said. The whole village had shown up to say goodbye to the shinobi who made it possible for them to escape Geitu's influence. They were now at the completed bridge. Our mission is finished, so we have to return to Konoha. Tenchi said, although a bit sadly. Take care. Tsunami said. We will. Rin answered. I am sorry for the inconvenience I have caused. Haku said but Tezuna waved her off. Don't worry Tezuna-san, we will visit someday. Naruto said confidently. You promise? Inari asked, on the verge of crying, and Naruto nodded. He also looked very emotional. You're sad, Inari. It's alright to cry, you know. Sakura said. I won't cry. Inari protested. Hey, if you want to, kid. Ino said, with a bright smile on her face. Well, we'll be seeing you later. Tenchi said and turned around. The 6 ninja walked away, leaving the cheering villagers. That boy changed Inari's heart, and Inari changed the villagers' hearts. That boy gave us a bridge toward hope, called courage. Tazuna said, talking about Naruto. Bridge? Oh, yeah, we need to name this bridge. One of the villagers said. Tazuna thought for a bit before grinning. I have a super perfect name. The Great Naruto Bridge, he said. The tsunami laughed slightly. That is a good name, she said. When we get back, I'll tell Iruka Sensei all about how much I have improved. I have to show him, Naruto rambled. They had been traveling for several days, and were a little over a day's walk away from Konoha. Naruto got more excited by the minute, but suddenly Tenchi, Rin and Haku sensed something. Rin clasped her hand over Naruto's mouth, muffling his voice. Shish! Be quiet! Rin hissed. Naruto complied and all of them grew tense, searching the surroundings for any threat. After a while, Naruto straightened from his ready pose. I don't sense, he began but stopped when suddenly he smelled blood. Suddenly 2 figures appeared in front of them. One was a tall man with shark-like appearance, complete with razor-sharp teeth and what looked like gills. He had a huge sword strapped to his back. The other was a smaller man, a little under Tenchi's height. He had red eyes with 3 black dots in and resembled Sasuke a lot, although older looking. Both wore black cloaks with red clouds on. Akatsuki. Tenchi and Rin thought. We just want Naruto-kun. Hand him over, and we will leave you unharmed. The smaller man said. If not, we will have to damage you a bit. The other man said. Uchiha Itachi and Hoshige Kisame's class missing nins. Tenchi said, and sure enough, their forehead protectors had slashes over them, indicating that they were missing nuns. So you know our names. Well, we know of you as well, Tengoku Tenchi. White Wolf of Konoha. Give us the brat, and nothing will happen to you. Kisame said. Naruto snorted. I'll take care of these 2 myself. He said, pulled out some of Kyuubi's chakra and rushed towards Kisame, creating a Rasengan on the way. Kisame grinned and suddenly had his sword in his hand. Naruto stooped, his Rasengan no longer in his hand. What the? Naruto said. My sword, Samahata, can eat chakra. You won't be able to do any, but to be sure you won't be making a fuss, Kisame said sadistically. He then proceeded to pound Naruto into the ground. Naruto spat blood and looked horrified as Kisame raised his sword to strike, but something blocked it. Naruto felt himself being lifted into the air and saw Rin carrying him back to his team while Tenchi blocked the big sword. Why did you do that? Stupid. You almost gave me a heart attack. Rin hissed. She lay Naruto down as gently as she could, before turning and looking at the 2 missing nuns and her boyfriend. Tenchi had entered his weapon mode, and he and Kisame were exchanging blows. Sakura and Ino were tending to Naruto's injuries, while Haku looked on as Tenchi fought. She cursed her kimono, since she couldn't fight in it. Tenchi can't handle the 2 of them alone. I have to help him. He is like me. He is nice, and wants me as his friend. I can't allow something to happen to him. Not when we can become friends. Haku thought. Rin-ne-san, what is going on? Naruto asked. They want you for the fox. We have to get back to Konoha. Rin explained and Naruto's eyes widened. As did Sakura and Ino's. Tenchi wasn't having a good time. Kisame was faster than him, the only reason Tenchi hadn't been killed was his experience and good reactions. He jumped away from his opponent, blood dripping from several wounds. Damn, Naruto has to get away from here. But if they start to move now, Itachi will just try to catch them. It looks like I have no choice. Tenchi thought before turning slightly to look at Rin. Rin-chan, I am sorry. I have to break my promise. Tenchi said. Rin looked puzzled at first before her face grew really worried. No, not that, she said, but Tenchi didn't respond. Instead he turned back to Kisame, whose expression changed from arrogance to curiosity to being horrified. The killing intent Tenchi emitted suddenly went sky high, almost making Naruto, Sakura and Ino choke, even without being directed at them. Tenchi blurred away and reappeared about 3 feet behind Kisame, his back still towards the Konoha ninjas. Nothing happened at first, but suddenly Kisame coughed. Samahata fell from his hands, and numerous wounds appeared on Kisame's body. Blood flowed from Kisame's mouth. Naruto, Sakura and Ino gasped when they saw stab marks and a slash across Kisame's throat. The missing nun fell over, dead. Itachi, who had appeared to barely follow Tenchi's movements, didn't react to the fact that his partner was killed. Tenchi then turned to look at his friends. They froze at the sight of him. His eyes glowed fiercer than normal, but the real change was the mask and his posture. A white mask was on Tenchi's face, looking disturbingly like a wolf's skull. The fangs were barred, looking really threatening. It was a frightening mask. Tenchi's posture was one of utmost confidence, as if he was filled with pure power, and Haku, being a much more experienced ninja than Naruto, Sakura and Ino, could literally feel his chakra on her skin. Wow, that is a lot. She thought. You 5. Get back to Konoha when you can. Don't worry about me, Tenchi commanded, his voice hard and powerful. Inside Naruto's navel, Kyuubi looked pleased. Good. With Wolf at his full power, Naruto has a much better chance of survival. Kyuubi thought. Itachi looked slightly unnerved looking between the body of Kisame and the full-powered Tenchi. But Sensei, Naruto began. No, getting you away is top priority. If you hadn't charged off like that, I could have formed a plan. Now that isn't possible. Didn't I tell you that arrogance is dangerous? Follow Rin back to Konoha. That's an order, Tenchi commanded. Naruto looked down on the ground, guilt wrecking through his body. Tenchi didn't say anything else. Instead he looked at Itachi. The killing intent both gave off was so large, that nearby birds and animals died of fright. Suddenly Tenchi launched into the sea. Kaden. Karyu Enden, Fire Dragon Flame Missile, he called. A huge dragon of fire erupted from his mouth, flying towards Itachi. The flame hit, but when the smoke dissipated, Itachi stood there unharmed, water lying around him. No, Water Dragon Blast, Tenchi called, and a dragon of water flew towards Itachi, who simply dodged out of the way. Kaden. Ryuka no Jutsu, Dragon Fire, Itachi called, and a stream of fire shot towards Tenchi. Suiten. Sujinheki, Tenchi called, and a wall of water rose up, protecting him. Before Itachi could respond, Tenchi launched another. Suiten. Sushoha. Water Wave, Tenchi called, and a huge wave of water materialized and hit Itachi. The water formed a square around Itachi. Tenchi quickly formed more seals before slamming his fists into the square. Suiten. Mizu Taiso, Water Requiem, Tenchi called, and shockwaves went through the water, crushing Itachi, or rather the log he had used in his kawarimi. Kaden. Hausenka no, Itachi called out. Tenchi dodged the fireballs, letting none of them hit him. Kaden. Inferno no, Inferno Blast Technique, Tenchi called out, a huge wave of fire flying from him towards Itachi. He didn't manage to dodge completely, his cloak caught fire and he had to get rid of it. Doden. Doryuden. Earth Dragon Missile, Itachi called, and a dragon's head made out of mud emerged from the ground. It spat several missiles of mud towards Tenchi. Immediately Itachi followed up with Kaden. Karyuden. Fire Dragon Missile, he spit a wave of fire and ignited the missiles and turned into burning missiles instead. Tenchi dodged and formed seals again. Dekasui no, Drowning Technique, Tenchi called. Itachi made gasping sounds before forming the cancel seal. Kai. He called before looking around for Tenchi, who wasn't anywhere in sight. Tenchi appeared behind Itachi and they engaged in a taijutsu match. Naruto, Sakura, Ino and Haku were staring wide-eyed at the battle. The exchange had happened over less than 2 minutes, showing how fast the combatants were. Rin, however, had seen this speed before and knew they had to leave now. But something held her back. She couldn't see Tenchi or Itachi, but knew from the shockwaves she felt that the battle was huge, and fast. Very fast. She also knew that there was no way she could get Naruto, Sakura, Ino or even Haku to move, even if she tried. The combined killing intent of Tenchi and Itachi was too great. Suddenly Tenchi appeared in front of Sakura, stopping a kunai that Itachi had thrown. He used it to block another that had been sent towards Ino. A third almost hit Haku, but Tenchi caught that as well. He was unable to catch the one aimed for Rin, but she saw it early enough to duck. Itachi appeared on the other side of the clearing that had been made by the battle. He didn't show any emotions, but closed his eyes, who had the active Sharingan, before opening them again. Oh no. Quickly. Don't look into his eyes. If you do, then you'll fall into his. Tenchi called and the nuns behind him diverted their looks from the Uchiha's eyes. Good call, however, I don't intend to use Tsukuyomi, god of the moon. However, I intend to use this. Itachi said and his normal Sharingan changed into a shuriken with 3 spikes. Amaterasu, god of the sun, Itachi yelled. Tenchi growled right before Itachi yelled his, and quickly formed 6 seals before yelling out, Teni, heaven light. From Itachi's eyes, a line of black flames, about as thick as an arm, flew towards Tenchi. They almost reached him when a beam of pure light erupted from Tenchi's eyes. The beam was about as large as Tenchi's eyes, but when it hit the black flames, the beam widened on impact and fully stopped the flames. The light began to move towards Itachi, who seemed worried for a while. Naruto, Sakura and Ino once again were wide-eyed and looking at the display of power. They knew that Teni was Tenchi's strongest, and something that it had trouble overpowering was sure to be powerful. Haku felt the pure power radiating from the 2 attacks, and she knew that if Tenchi won, then Itachi would be dead. If Itachi won, she didn't want to finish that thought. Rin remembered seeing that once before, and she knew that, in addition to all the high power he had pulled off, and the taijutsu fight with Itachi and the fight with Kisame on top of that, Tenchi couldn't hold out long. Teni is so draining, he won't last. What shall I do? We have to run, but, Tenchi will die. Rin thought and began to slightly panic. Haku noticed. Rin-san, what is it? Haku asked. Naruto, Sakura and Ino also noticed Rin's slightly shaking hands. He won't make it. He is almost out, Rin said. Haku suddenly looked horrified and turned to fight again. The light was not far from Itachi at all and he looked really worried now, but suddenly it stopped moving forward. And then the black fire gained ground, and Itachi smirked slightly, knowing and feeling that Tenchi was almost out of chakra. Tenchi tried to hold on, but the black fire gained more and more ground. Frowning in concentration, Tenchi managed to stop the fire about a foot from his face. He reached out with his senses, and knew that Itachi was at his limit as well. Isn't there something we can do to help? Sakura asked her mother, who shook her head sadly. This is too much for us. That can burn through anything. It would kill us, not even the Rasengan is a match for it. Rin said. Haku looked like she got an idea and pulled out several needles. She took aim and was about to throw them at Itachi when suddenly Tenchi's attack stopped. Tenchi's eyes widened in horror as he couldn't push out enough chakra for the Teni anymore. The light stopped and the black fires hit Tenchi's face dead on. Tenchi roared in pain as the flames burned. Itachi smirked, but that felt as he felt his chakra give out and also he felt several needles hit him, disabling his arms. He stopped his and took one glance at the writing form that was Tenchi before vanishing in a blur. Rin, Sakura, Naruto, Ino and Haku rushed over to Tenchi, trying to calm him down. He trashed, holding his hands to his face. The black flames were on his mask, which Rin ripped off. Naruto, Sakura and Ino gasped and looked away. Haku and Rin swallowed before beginning to help Tenchi, who had stopped trashing. Naruto walked over to the wolf mask and picked it up. Naruto felt the material. He wasn't sure if he could break it, even if he tried. The fire had burned the mask severely. Rin suddenly straightened from treating Tenchi's face. She went a little away from them and performed some seals. Biting her thumb and slamming her fist into the ground, a puff later and 2 small slugs appeared. If Sakura noticed, she didn't say anything. She probably didn't, since she had started helping with Tenchi treatment. Quickly writing something on 2 small scrolls, Rin gave a scroll to each of the slugs. Hurry back to Konoha, and bring that scroll to Hokage-sama. Rin said to one of the slugs. It nodded and vanished in a puff. Get that scroll to Tsunade-sama, and tell her to please hurry back. Rin told the second slug, who also nodded and vanished. Rin then hurried back to Tenchi, and tried to give him as much treatment as she could, but she needed to be in a hospital. We have to get back to Konoha, now. Rin said. Naruto, Sakura, Ino and Haku nodded. Naruto took Tenchi's backpack, while Sakura and Ino took Rin and Haku's. Rin and Haku managed to carry Tenchi and together they hurried towards Konoha. The strange group arrived at the gates late in the evening. Sandaime Hokage was waiting for them with several medics. Rin looked at the genin and gave them one simple order. Go to our house. Stay there until further notice. And if you have to leave, don't speak about what just happened to anyone. Rin said to the 4 kids before she headed towards the hospital together with the medics and the Hokage. Several hours later, Sakura sat in the living room of the Haruno residence, looking between her cup of tea and the door. Ino was fidgeting in her chair, trying to drink her tea. Naruto looked like he was about to throw up. The same phrase kept repeating in his head. It's all my fault. Tenchi-asan is hurt because of me. Haku, she was asleep in her chair, not being nearly as close to Tenchi as the other 3. Then the door opened, and Rin and Sandaime walked in, Rin looking really tired, and also tears ran down her face. Mom? Sakura asked. Haku snapped out of her sleep and sat up, her full attention on Rin immediately. Rin swallowed before walking into the living room and sitting down on the couch. Sandaime closed the door behind them. Rin-ne-san? Naruto asked hesitantly. How is Sensei? Ino asked. Is Tenchi-san alright? Haku joined in. Rin gulped and wiped of a few tears before speaking. Tenchi is, he is. Tenchi sat in his hospital room, bandages covering his head and several places on his body. Burned away, he mumbled weakly to himself. Flashback. Rin, Sandaime Hokage and 2 medics stood by and watched as Tenchi woke up. He was confused when he didn't see anything and turned his head as if to look around. Rin lay a hand on his shoulder before hugging him. Tenchi-san, how are you? One of the medics asked. What happened after I was hit by that fire? Tenchi asked. Itachi ran away, while I tried to treat your injuries. We got you to Konoha. You're in the hospital now. Rin said. She sounded as if she was crying. Rin, what's up with the sadness? I'm alright, aren't I? Tenchi asked. Rin tried to speak but choked on her words. Tenchi, remember, your friends are behind you no matter what. We will help you in any way we have to. Sandaime said. Hokage-sama, okay. Can someone tell me what is wrong with me? What's going on? Tenchi asked, annoyed and slightly frightened. Tenchi-san, when that attack hit you, your mask took most of the blow. But your eyes? The other medic said. They were damaged. I can't see for a while. Tenchi asked. Yes and no. Yes, they were damaged, and yes you can't see. No, you can't see for a while. The medic said. Tenchi, your eyes, they got burned away. There is nothing left. There is no one in Konoha that can help you now. Rin said and Tenchi could have sworn he felt rain on his arm. Burned away. End flashback. Tenchi is blind. He will probably never see again. Sandaime helped Rin. She swallowed loudly before drying some of her tears, but they just kept falling. What? Sakura, Ino and Naruto yelled together. How? I know he was hurt, but not that badly. Haku joined in. That attack Itachi used, it can burn through anything. The only reason Tenchi isn't dead is because his mask is always packed with chakra. It makes it much tougher. But the flames hit his eyes, burning them away. Sandaime explained. Only Tsunade-sama can heal that. Hopefully she got the message and is on her way here. She is the only one who can heal something that severe. Rin said and Sandaime nodded. If someone can help him, it will be her, he said. Then he noticed Naruto's guilty look. Naruto, it wasn't your fault. Rin told me what happened. Even if you hadn't charged, Tenchi would have fought against them anyway. Neither is it Rin's fault. Sandaime said and Rin looked at him in surprise. Huh? She asked. Rin-san, I was there as well. Nothing else could have been done. Perhaps if I had thrown my needles earlier, but I don't think that would have helped either. The pure killing intent those two put out froze all of us. No one was at fault. Haku said and Sandaime nodded. Well said. He praised. But what happens now? Sakura asked. Will we get a new sensei? Ino asked, her tone indicating that she did not want that to happen. Sandaime shook his head. Even without his sight, Tenchi is still one of our most knowledgeable and experienced ninjas. He will still teach and train you three, but there will be some big changes. I don't know how long, but Tenchi will be in the hospital for a while. When he gets out, I will assign someone to help him. Sandaime said. Huh? Naruto asked. Someone to help Sensei around in everyday life. Right, Hokage-sama? Sakura said and Sandaime nodded. Yes. Rin can't do it, since she is busy at the hospital, and you three can't do it, since you have training and missions, although with your sensei out of commission, you won't get anything other than D ranks. By the way, congratulations on a finished A rank. Sandaime said and for a moment the genin beamed proudly, while Haku looked a little embarrassed. Rin looked at Sandaime with a curious glance. Do you have someone in mind to help Tenchi? She asked and Sandaime shook his head. No, was the simple reply. A few moments passed in silence before Sandaime stood up. He turned to Haku, who looked a little startled. From what Rin told me, you wish to be a citizen of Konoha. Is that correct? Sandaime asked and Haku nodded. Come with me then, he said and started to walk towards the door, Haku trailing behind. Sandaime turned and smiled at the four still seated in the living room. This is going to be tough, but it will work out, he said before leaving. Haku gave a short wave before following. When the two of them left, Naruto suddenly jumped up. He pulled Sakura and Ino up with him. Let's go see Sensei, he said firmly and they nodded. Tenchi sat completely still, no movement whatsoever. At least physically. Mentally was a different story. What am I supposed to do now? I can't see. I'm useless as a ninja now. That's all I know, it's my life. If I can't be a ninja, then I might as well be dead. I don't have a purpose anymore, no reason to exist. No way of protecting those I love, and no way they'll continue to care for me. I'll live a life of darkness, all alone with no ray of light. He sat there, thinking like that, not noticing that his other senses were telling him that four people were moving towards his room. Are you sure he will be happy to see us? Naruto asked. He won't see us at all. Naruto-kun, you can be very stupid sometimes. Ino scolded. Huh, oh, right, sorry, was the reply. I am sure he will be happy to hear us. Rin corrected. Sakura didn't say anything, instead she knocked softly on the door to Tenchi's room. When no answer came, she knocked again but still no answer. Hesitantly she opened the door and peered inside. When she saw Tenchi sitting on the bed, she fully opened the door and the four of them walked in. Hey Sensei, Ino called. How are you Sensei? Sakura asked. Naruto, who felt a fresh wave of guilt when he saw Tenchi, didn't say anything. Rin walked up to Tenchi and sat next to him on the bed. You know, it's polite to answer when people talk to you, she said, trying to sound funny, but failed miserably. Tenchi still didn't respond. Naruto, Ino and Sakura exchanged glances before turning to Tenchi again. Sensei, they asked in unison, a little loudly. No reaction. Tengoku Tenchi. Answer when people talk to you, Rin said, clearly annoyed. Tenchi raised his head, but didn't say anything for a while. Then he spoke, in a voice that they never heard from him before. It sounded like he had lost all life, all hope. What now? What am I supposed to do now? Was all he said before falling silent again. Don't worry, Sensei. Tsunade-sama is coming. She can heal you, Sakura said, and Ino and Naruto nodded, although they quickly realized it was pointless, since he couldn't see. Tenchi, listen to me. You are going to be fine, Rin said and stroked his bandaged cheek. When he turned his head towards her, she was sure he would have glared, if he had eyes, that is. Fine. Will I be fine? I'm blind. I'm useless. Being a ninja is all that I know. I can't be anything else. How can I be fine, when I am useless for the village I work for? I am useless for the people I love, I can't protect anyone anymore. How can I be fine? I would have been better off dead, Tenchi said and lowered his head again. The three genin were shocked at his words, but Rin was half expecting them, although she was saddened by them. Tenchi, you aren't useless, and we will never feel different about you, even if you are blind, Rin said. Yeah, Sensei, you are important to us. Ino joined. We wouldn't have come this far without you, Sakura said. We can't lose you, Sensei, Naruto said. Tenchi's head perked up a little at what they said before he lowered it again. Even Tsunade-sama can't heal this. And I don't need pity, Tenchi said, a hint of bitterness in his voice. You don't know that. She can heal anything. That's what everyone says, Naruto said, although Rin looked oddly sad. Please, just leave me alone, Tenchi said. Rin looked like she wanted to protest at first, but then she gave him a quick hug and a kiss before exiting the room with the genin. Naruto looked at Rin with an amused look. When? He asked. Huh, Rin replied. When did you two get together? Naruto asked again and Rin smirked. None of your business, she said smugly. The next day was no different. Tenchi wouldn't speak to Rin, Naruto, Sakura or Ino. The nurses said that he had retracted into his mind. Sandaime and Haku had come to see him when Rin, Naruto, Sakura and Ino were about to leave, not getting a response from him all day. How is he? Sandaime asked, and noted the gloomy expressions. We don't know, Sakura said sadly. He hasn't said anything, Rin said, looking over at Tenchi, who lay in his bed. The only motion was his chest rising and falling with his breath. Why not? Sandaime asked, thinking maybe Tenchi was angry or something. Rin glanced towards Tenchi again before turning to Sandaime. Depression. As he sees it, he can no longer be a ninja. And that's all he's ever been. He just lost his purpose, or so he thinks, Rin explained, and Sandaime nodded thoughtfully. I hope Tsunade can help him. She should be here in a couple of days. In the meantime, I think the six of us should go to my office, Sandaime said. The reason I brought you here is because of Haku, Sandaime said, and Rin, Naruto, Sakura and Ino looked at Haku, who blushed slightly at being the center of attention. She is now an official citizen of Konoha. But when we were finished with our talks yesterday, she asked me if I had thought of anyone to help Tenchi yet, Sandaime said, and Haku decided to explain. I don't hate Tenchi. Even if Zabuza-san would have survived with his arms intact, I can't hate Tenchi. He only did his job, just as I did when I fought against you, Haku said to Ino and Naruto, who nodded. I can't say that I know Tenchi well, but from what I have seen of him, he is a good person, and already a friend of mine. In the time between when Zabuza-san died and we got here, Tenchi treated me nicely, and never with hostility. He never showed any sort of bad emotions or intentions towards me. I felt safe with him. Now he lies in the hospital, a broken man. I want to help him, like I helped Zabuza-san. So I asked Hokage-sama to be Tenchi's helper. Haku said Rin, Sakura, Naruto and Ino were surprised by that. I have to admit I was suspicious at first, but then Haku allowed herself to be examined, to see if she was truthful and didn't have any bad intentions. Ibiki, the chef interrogator for Anbu, and Ino's father both decided that Haku was indeed truthful, so I have nothing against the idea. Sandame said. Rin thought for a bit. Well, normally I'm sure Tenchi wouldn't have had anything against it either. I could see he liked Haku. As a friend, she added when she saw Naruto's look. But now, he has to snap out of this depression of his ilk. He can still teach, pass on his knowledge and experience. He loved teaching Naruto, Sakura and Ino, so if he could see that he can still do that, then perhaps that will be enough for him to return to normal. Rin said. As normal as he can be at least. Sandame said before nodding. Suddenly a knock came on the door. Come in, Sandame said and his secretary came in. I have a message from Tsunade-sama. She said and gave a short letter to Sandame. He read it and smiled. Good, Tsunade is hurrying. She will be here in about 2 days, maybe less. He said and the whole group felt relieved at that. Tenchi lay in his bed. To most, he looked like he was peaceful. But not inside his mind. Inside Tenchi's mind, Tenchi looked around. All around him was an open plain, full of people Tenchi knew, well or not. Rin, Sakura, Naruto, Ino, Sandame, Kakashi, Obito, Yondaime, all the people Tenchi got to know from his travels, those he fought alongside with, Tsunade, her attendant Shizune, Kara, Sasuke, Shikamaru, Choji, Hinata, Kiba, Shino, Kurenai, Haku. Even those Tenchi fought and killed were there. I can see. Tenchi said while looking around. It was then he saw that he was surrounded by the people in this strange place. What's going on? Tenchi asked. At first no one answered but then Rin walked up to him. She smiled at him and was about to say something when suddenly Itachi came and attacked her. Tenchi attacked him and drove him back. But when Tenchi turned back to Rin again, he felt an excruciating pain in his face, and everything became black. What? I'm blind, again. What is this? Tenchi asked, and stumbled a little. Suddenly he was pushed and fell hard on his face. He tried to get up but was pushed again. Someone spat on him. How pitiful. Blind and crawling on the ground. Someone said and Tenchi recognized the voice as a ninja from the hidden stone that had almost killed him in an all-out fight. Tenchi knew he would die if he kept rolling on the ground like this. Rin, Sakura, Naruto, Ino, Hokage-sama, anyone, Tenchi called, hoping for some help. What he got was screams. Screams of people dying, of people in pain, of people being tormented in ways no one should be. Shit, what now? Tenchi thought before he realized something. His hearing was somewhat more focused. Not better, just focused differently. Suddenly he heard a shuriken coming towards him and just managed to roll out of the way. He stumbled to his feet, feeling another shuriken nick on his right shoulder. Another hit his left arm, rendering it useless. A kunai got stuck in his left leg, almost hitting an artery. Tenchi didn't know what to do. He tried to jump away from whoever it was that was attacking, but someone struck him down, hard. He tried to bury it into the ground, but was ruthlessly ripped out. He tried to summon, but the wolf was instantly beaten by another summoning that sounded suspiciously like Orochimaru and Manda. He tried to put it around him, but someone always broke it. He tried to attack in the direction of the throws, but only received laughs from the people around him. He tried to run, but was shown back by multiple hands. You see now, someone said, putting force on, see. You can never do anything against us again. You can never be a ninja again. You will always sit and brood on your life that is no more. You can just sit and listen as your friends, family and loved ones get killed and abused. What accompanied the voice was more screams, some Tenchi recognized as Rin, Sakura, Ino and Naruto. You are useless. Alone. Powerless. A disappointment. A freak. A blunt weapon. A relic to be thrown away. And then, nothing. Tenchi, who had been on the ground, holding his head, trying to block out the sounds, slowly rose. He still felt his injuries, but now he heard nothing. No one was talking, no sound came. He took a step and heard it, so he was sure he wasn't deaf. He realized he was all alone. And it frightened him. He hadn't been afraid of being all alone before, but now, he was terrified. Hello, hello, he yelled, but no answer. He started walking, stumbling over things in his path, tripping over objects he couldn't see, for obvious reasons. Then something bumped into him. He fell over again, but quickly got up. Something else bumped into him. Hello, Tenchi called, desperate for someone to help him, or at least acknowledge him as being there. Oh look, the blind ninja is scared. The voices came again. How does it feel? It asked. To be powerless. Useless. Tenchi was attacked again, and Tenchi was powerless to stop it. In the hospital room, the only sign of Tenchi's mind torture was the fact that he was sweating, his face was contracted, as if in pain and his fist clenched tightly. The next day, Naruto, Sakura and Ino walking towards Ichiraku Ramen. On their way, Sakura and Ino noticed that almost everyone was glaring at Naruto. Some even smirked evilly. He didn't seem fazed by it though. As they walked, the girls got more and more aware of the glares. Finally, when one villager, accidentally, bumped into Naruto, knocking him into the ground, Ino had enough. Hey you, get back here and apologize to Naruto. She nearly yelled. The man just snorted. Like I let a demon's bitch tell me what to do. He said and spat next to Naruto, or where Naruto was a second ago. The man blinked and suddenly found himself lifted from the ground by his neck. You talk to Ino-chan or Sakura-chan like that again, and I'll show you how much pain a human body can suffer. Naruto growled. The man looked frightened, and Naruto smirked. Suddenly, as if realizing what he was doing, Naruto dropped the man and walked swiftly away. Ino and Sakura hurried after. Naruto-kun, they asked when they reached him. Why did I do that? He asked, confused at the rage he had felt and the urge to kill the man. He insulted me and you protected me. That's all, Ino said. I think it was kind of romantic actually. Naruto is sticking up for his girlfriends. Sakura said and Naruto chuckled. Of course I will. Always. Naruto said and hugged Ino and Sakura, his rage forgotten. They reached the Ichiraku and sat down, ordering their ramen. The old man and his daughter, Ayame, saw that the three young ninjas were looking gloomy and thoughtful. What's up? Ayame asked as she sat 3 bowls of ramen down in front of them. At first none of the genin answered, but then Sakura laid her chopsticks down and took a deep breath. Sensei was injured on a mission. He's blind, and there is a very small chance of him ever seeing again. Sakura said and Ayame and the old man, don't know his name, looked at each other. I'm sorry. What's going to happen now? The old man said. We don't know. Ino replied. He's not himself anymore. Naruto said, looking into his ramen. Of course. If he's blind, then, Ayame said but Ino cut her off. No, not that. It's like he's lost all hope. He doesn't talk, Ino said. All he does is sit in his hospital bed and do absolutely nothing. Sakura finished. The old man looked thoughtful for a minute before slowly nodding. Depression. It's a fairly common response. Have you tried to snap him out of it? He asked and Naruto nodded. Nothing works. He said sadly. Tomorrow a great medic is coming. She can heal him, at least we hope so. Ino said and Sakura nodded in agreement. Well, you 3 have enough to worry about. The ramen is on the house. The old man said. Thanks. Naruto said, a little happier at free ramen. Naruto, Sakura, Ino and Haku stood in the training area Team 7 used. It seemed so empty, well to Naruto, Sakura and Ino at least. Sensei would be mad if we got rusty while he's out. Sakura had reasoned. Now they stood there, not knowing what to do. So, what now? Haku asked. As one, Naruto, Sakura and Ino remembered something Tenchi said when they started training. We are not leaving until you three have done this. Slight smiles appeared on their faces and Sakura turned to Haku. Just follow us please, she said, and they started to run. After the 10th lap, Haku had to ask. How many repetitions? 50. Then we do push-ups, sit-ups, squats, punches and kicks. Ino replied, happy to be back training. Tenchi set these. Haku asked again. Yeah, Naruto replied. He's harsh. Haku said, and her three companions chuckled at that. Okay, what now? Haku asked, huffing slightly from the exercises she just did. Chakra control, was the simple reply, and Naruto, Sakura and Ino walked over to a tree each and walked up it. They stopped under a high branch. That's it? Haku asked. Nope, now we do some training. Ino said and formed several seals. Futon. Te Tama no, she called, and several air bullets flew and hit some targets on the other side of the area. Kaden. Gukaku no, Sakura called, and a fireball incinerated some targets. Raikyu no, Naruto called and sent a ball of lightning that had a shocking effect on his targets. Haku's turn. Sakura said. Haku wasted no time in climbing a tree of her own and forming one-handed seals. Haijutsu. Sensatsu Susho. Haku called, took out a water bottle and threw its contents into the air in front of her. The water turned into ice needles, which pummeled her targets. And the cycle went on for several hours, each of the four kids using a while hanging upside down in a tree. Rin wasn't having a very good time. She had come to check on Tenchi, and found him sweating and apparently in pain, but for the life of her she couldn't find out why. Nor could she ease the pain he was having. What's going on? Rin asked out loud. Her voice seemed to do something, and Tenchi woke up. He slowly sat up, and turned his head this way and that, as if to see if someone was in the room with him. Hello? Tenchi asked, his voice shaking. I'm here. Don't worry, Rin said and took Tenchi's hand. He seemed to relax before he turned to her. It's horrible, Rin, so horrible, he said before becoming quiet again. What is? You can tell me. Rin pushed and Tenchi told her about his dream, and how it wouldn't end until she spoke out. After Tenchi finished speaking, both he and Rin fell silent for a while, neither knowing what to say. Then Tenchi shook his head and a weak smile crossed his mouth. What happened after we came back? He asked. Rin looked surprised. Huh? She asked and Tenchi mock sighed. After we came back to Konoha. How has everyone been, and what's happened? I may be useless now, but I want to at least know what happens around me. Tenchi explained and Rin smiled slightly before gently punching his shoulder. First, you are not useless. But I'll tell you, it's been bad. The kids are depressed and miss their sensei and friends. Haku might not show it, but she misses talking to you as well. And I miss everything. And it didn't make it better that you didn't want to say a word to us. Rin said, and Tenchi looked up. Reed lifted his head. I'm sorry, but I'm talking now. Who's Team 7's new sensei? He asked. Huh, new sensei? Rin asked. Yes, they have to have a sensei, and I can't do it. I can no longer be a ninja, so, Tenchi was cut off by Rin though. Hokage-sama hasn't done anything about that, and I don't think he will. Tomorrow Tsunade-sama will be here, and she'll try to heal you. Don't give up, you can still see someday. Rin insisted and Tenchi smiled at that. Thank you for your encouragement, he said, and Rin gave him a kiss on the cheek. Don't mention it, she said and hugged him. The next day Tenchi got several visitors. First was Rin, followed by Naruto, Sakura, Ino and Haku. How are you now, Sensei? Sakura asked. Tenchi didn't seem to want to answer. Have you three been training right? Tenchi asked, changing the subject. Yeah. Haku has joined us too. Ino replied. Good, good. Until you get your new sensei, you have to train on your own. Tenchi said, and instantly his three students paled. What are you talking about? Ino asked. We aren't going to have a new sensei. Sakura said stubbornly. Or is it that you don't want to train us because of me? Naruto asked, looking down on the ground. Tenchi, however, shook his head. No, this isn't because of any of you. You will have a new sensei because I am useless now. Tenchi said seriously. So seriously that it left no room for doubt about his lack of faith in himself. Wrong, Tenchi, Sandaime said while walking into the room. Behind him came Hyuga Hisashi, Hinata and Hanabi, Hinata's younger sister. Team 7 will still be under you. No new Junin will be assigned there. Sandaime continued, while giving a slight wave to the others in the room. The Hyugas gave a short bow in greeting, almost unnoticeable in Hiyashi's case. How are you, Tenchi-san? Hiyashi asked, and Tenchi lowered his head. Let's not talk about that, shall we? Tenchi asked in a subdued manner. Huh, why not? Hanabi asked. So, how is the Hyuga? Does the council still insist on keeping Hinata away from Naruto? Tenchi asked. Both Hinata and Naruto's expressions got sad at this point. Yes, and even I am starting to see just how bad the effects are. Hayashi said and looked at his oldest daughter. Oh, Tenchi asked and Hiyashi sighed. I know I'm not the perfect father figure, but I want my daughters to be happy. Hinata is happy being a friend with Naruto. And I know Naruto is Naruto, so I don't hold the same opinion many others have. When Naruto helped Hinata, she grew and became stronger with each day. Now, it's almost the opposite. Hayashi said and Tenchi sighed. Is that so? He said, more a statement than a question. Hanabi decided to speak up. I heard some of the council say that if Hinata Nichan got any weaker, they would place the seal on her anyway. Hanabi said and Hayashi gave a short laugh, although completely lacking humor. Yes, they have been talking about that. The irony is that the ban still stands, even though they are planning to give Hinata that seal anyway. Hayashi said. Ino looked at him as hard as she could. But you are the clan leader. You should be able to do something. She said. Ino, it isn't as simple as that. Sadly. Sandaime said and Hiyashi nodded. Wait, isn't there anything that we can do? Hinata doesn't deserve that stupid seal. Naruto said and Hayashi smiled slightly. Well, there is something that can be done, although, Hayashi said but was cut off by Tenchi. I'm sorry, but now that I can't see, there is no way I can do anything that will help. I have to see in order to make a seal, and I have to see in order to learn enough about seals from a scroll. I am sorry, Hinata, Tenchi said and Hiyashi nodded sadly. Originally Tenchi and I thought that if Hinata got that seal, then if he had become good enough, then he would just cancel it. Or create a new one without the negative effects. But now, as Tenchi said, that is no longer possible. He said and Naruto noticed a few tears running down Hinata's face. Don't worry, Hinata. We'll figure something out. Besides, Sensei is going to get his sight back today. Naruto said and the three Hyuga looked surprised. He is? Hinata asked. We'll, if I can help it at least. A voice came, and everyone turned to look at the new visitor. It was actually three visitors, two women and a pet pig with a red jacket on. One had blonde hair in two pigtails that went down under her shoulder blades, a beautiful face with a blue diamond in her forehead, chocolate brown eyes. Another not so subtle feature about her was her huge assets. They looked like the size of watermelons. She wore dark blue pants, a gray shirt and a green jacket. The other was a dark-haired woman that had a kind and cute-looking face, simply radiating gentleness. She also possessed a body a lot of males found rather hard to tear their eyes off, although it was well hidden behind her dark kimono. Ah, Tsunade and Shizune. How nice of you to join us. Was your journey well? Sandame asked while practically beaming at them. Tsunade, the blonde, half glared, half smirked back at him. It was fine, and I didn't have much choice other than to come, did I? The little wolf gets his butt kicked and I have to save his career. She said in a joking manner. This is the legendary medic. Naruto and Ino asked Sakura in subdued voices. Yes, she is. Tenchi responded, getting an eep from the three genin. He then turned to where he thought Tsunade was, although he missed and was talking to a table plant. As nice as it is to be reminded of my condition, can you please help me regain my purpose? Tenchi asked and Tsunade blinked in surprise. Huh, purpose? What are you talking about? I'm here to heal your eyes. She said. Exactly. Without sight, I am simply this. Tenchi said and gestured to himself and the bed he was now sitting in. I don't have, Tenchi began, but Tsunade cut him off. Hey, wait until after I examine you. She said, smiling slightly. She walked over to him and started removing his bandages. Rin's eyes widened. Perhaps the kids should wait outside. She asked and Tsunade nodded. She was about to say something when Naruto glared at her and Rin. No, I'm staying. I want to see the injuries Sensei has because of me, he said firmly. Tenchi sighed and turned towards Naruto. Actually he was facing Ino though, but no one mentioned that. Listen, this wasn't your fault. My fault, not yours. I wasn't strong enough, or smart enough. Not you, Tenchi said firmly. But they were after me. Naruto stated. I don't care. Not your fault, Tenchi said firmly. Still, I want to see Sensei's injuries too. Ino said and Rin sighed. Okay. Those that wish to see can stay, unless Tenchi has anything against it. But I must warn you, even though he has healed slightly, it won't be a pretty sight. She said. I think Hinata and Hanabi shouldn't see this. Hayashi said and was surprised by the irritated look Hinata sent him. I want to see what will happen to Tenchi-san. He is an important person to me. Hinata said stubbornly. I have no objections as long as no one will be scared or anything when they see me. Tenchi said. Rin still looked a little uneasy. I will go. But I'll wait outside, so I can know when Tenchi-san is healed. Then I want to see him. Hanabi said and walked out of the room. Shizune gave the pig to Hanabi, saying its name was Tauntaun. Seeing no one else moving, Tsunade took a calming breath before continuing her task. Okay. Ready Tenchi? Tsunade asked and Tenchi nodded as the last of the bandage went off and the room was filled with gasps and a thud as Hinata passed out. Hayashi would normally have at least checked if she was alright, but he wasn't looking too good himself. Tenchi's face was mostly healed, the burns which had been black when he came to the hospital, were now red and slowly fading, due to the excellent treatment he had received by the medics. Treating burnt skin wasn't much of a challenge for the Konoha hospital. What made everyone feel ill was the area around the eyes, where the mask hadn't been to stop the flames. While the rest of the face would eventually return to how it looked like before, there was no way that the intense scarring around the eyes would go completely away. Fade and become better, but not disappear. But worst of all was the eyes themselves. They weren't there. Instead there were two eye-shaped holes, black holes framed by badly burnt skin. The reason the two Hyugas reacted the way they did. The Hyuga clan is proud of their eyes, and treasures eyesight. Seeing someone like that didn't sit well with them, and reminded them of their worst nightmare. Being in Tenchi's position, Tsunade sighed and did a few seals before a green glow surrounded her hands. She slowly moved her hands over Tenchi's face. When she had done that, she frowned before sighing again. I am sorry Tenchi. There is simply nothing left. Nothing of your eyes remains. Not even the nerves. All I can do is heal the burns and the scarring. I'm sorry, but you will never see again. Tsunade said and the mood of the room dropped through the floor. Tenchi sighed deeply before lowering his head again. I was afraid of that. Now I know for sure, though. I just have to try and grasp the idea of being a useless cripple now. Tenchi said, pain evident in his voice. Okay, what's up? Even without your sight, you are still an excellent ninja. I know I joke about it a lot, but your strength is unquestionable. Tsunade said firmly, and Tenchi let out a short humorless laugh. I had a dream not too long ago, after I got back here. It showed me just how strong of a ninja I am now. Everyone I hold dear was killed while I could do nothing but listen. I listened to people I had fought killed and did unmentionable things to them. I couldn't do anything. And then I was attacked, and still I couldn't do anything. Then I was alone, and I was helpless. Tell me, if that isn't being useless, then I don't know what is. Tenchi said. Everyone in the room, including the recently awoken Hinata, were saddened by how he spoke. So empty. That is, until Tsunade hit Tenchi on the head with her fist. Wake up, you idiot. You think you are the first ninja to be blinded. Besides, even without eyesight, you can still teach, she asked in a very angry tone. She took a deep breath and continued in a slightly more neutral tone. True, most ninjas that get blinded, or receive other handicaps quit being active ninjas. But some won't give up, and they learn to deal with being blind. They train hard and long, and they come back, as ninjas, again. I know you, and I know that you can become a ninja again. You aren't useless. So snap out of that little depression of yours and get your head out from under your ass. Tsunade scolded. Tenchi looked like someone just hit him in the face, which was true actually. But, how? He asked, and Tsunade turned to Hiyashi, who now had recomposed himself. Someone who isn't a Hyuga can still release chakra from all the points in his or her body, right? Tsunade asked, and Hayashi nodded. Yes. Why? He asked. And you can still sense chakra, right? Tsunade asked, turning back to Tenchi. I haven't really focused on sensing anything for a while, but yes. Tenchi replied. Well then, one way for you to still be a ninja is to learn to use what is called a chakra radar. You send out a small pulse of chakra, and sense it. Since you now don't have sight anymore, your body will naturally compromise. Your already sharp senses should be sharpening, and when you master the chakra radar, your mind creates a mental image of what the pulse has felt. Plus, a smart boy like you should be able to figure something out. Didn't you always say you could see with your eyes closed? Tsunade asked, and Tenchi's eyebrows, what was left of them, raised, indicating surprise. The meditation. When I meditate I can see, or rather feel around me. You're saying I can use that as a replacement? Tenchi asked, and Sandame coughed slightly to get everyone's attention. Tsunade, while I say this, perhaps you should heal Tenchi. Sandame said, and Tsunade nodded. Sure thing, Sarutobi sensei. Shizune, help me out here, will you? Tsunade asked, and the dark-haired woman nodded the affirmative. They started to heal the area around Tenchi's eyes and inside his eye sockets. Well, I can confirm what Tsunade said about there being blind ninjas before. They have each developed their own ways of surviving, some even got better than before, although not until having a lot of practice and training. As of the chakra radar, that is one of the 3 most known techniques of blind ninja uses. The others are the chakra field. That is a sphere of chakra around you which you use to feel the surroundings with, and any incoming threats. The last is simply to use your remaining senses. But none of these solutions work permanently. They do fine on missions and in training and during combat, but in everyday life, it's not possible to do. You would simply drain your chakra too much. Also, even if you somehow learn to see using your meditation, it wouldn't work all the time. Sandame said. Why not? Sakura asked. One can only meditate for so long. What happens if you sleep too much? Rin asked. You become lazy. Naruto replied. Yes, because too much sleep forces the body to think that you need that much sleep. Eventually you need to sleep that much. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that if Tenchi uses his meditation sight all the time, he will always be in a meditative state. Rin said. Is that so bad? Hinata asked. Yes. When meditating, you are completely calm, no emotions or stray thoughts. If Tenchi would always meditate, then he would never feel anything again. Not pain, pleasure, warmth, cold, happiness, sadness or anything. Only what he tells himself to feel. Rin explained. That way, he would face unnecessary risk, also it would effectively destroy his relationship with other people. Hayashi said. I can be happy or content or any other feeling and emotion I focus on when I meditate, but I have to focus on it. Normally that comes without me having to focus on it. That would make it hard for me to interact with others. For example, it would be hard to feel proud when one of my students does something good, and annoyed when they do something stupid. Tenchi joined. So, Sensei can, with enough training, return to be a ninja, but he can't use these techniques too much. Ino asked. Yes, which is why he should only use them when he has to. Off duty, he should be like any normal blind person. Tsunade said. What? Sit in a bed all day? Tenchi asked, earning him a frustrated sigh from the adults in the room. Blind people do live full lives, you know. You just have to learn how. There, all we can do now is done. Tsunade said as she and Shizune finished healing and Tenchi looked better, all the burns had faded slightly. Thank you. I don't feel any of the burning I felt until now. But I still don't know if I can do this. Function as a blind ninja, I mean. Tenchi said. So, you're giving up? Rin asked, knowing the response. No, I'm giving up and feeling sorry for myself. I have had enough of that the last couple of days. Thanks for bonking some sense into my skull, though. Tenchi said approximately towards where he sensed Tsunade was. No problem. Just tell me if you need a second one. Tsunade said with a smirk. Being a ninja is all I know. It is who I am. I won't let that go. Tenchi said, and Sakura, Ino and Naruto grinned at each other before almost shouting in unison. And we'll help. We'll get you back into action before you know it. A small laugh was shared after that, which was interrupted when Hanabi came into the room. Tenchi turned to the new presence and heard a gasp. To her credit, Hanabi didn't faint, although Tenchi looked much better than when Hinata saw him. After filling Hanabi in on the events, Sandaime walked over to Haku and laid a hand on her shoulder. Tenchi, as you know, Haku is now a citizen here, and is looking for a place to stay. Sandaime began. Tenchi nodded, waiting for him to continue. I was thinking about getting you someone to help you whenever you need it, and Haku volunteered. I want to know if it is okay with you. The elderly man asked, and once again Tenchi showed surprise in the form of raised eyebrows. You really want to help me, every day? Tenchi asked, and Haku smiled. Yes, was the simple reply. Why? The equally simple question. You are my friend. You are a good person, and I felt safe around you. I want to help you, it is really as simple as that. Haku said. Don't worry Tenchi, I am sure of her intentions. Even Ibiki is sure of them. She doesn't mean any harm, not to you or Konoha. Sandaime said. I wasn't worried about that. I knew that already. I was just curious, but I have no objections, as long as no one else has. Tenchi replied, the last bit a question to Rin more than any other. Sure. Haku will take good care of you. Rin replied. It's decided then. Also, you need a new place to live. The one you have now is too small. Sandaime said. It always seemed good enough for me. Tenchi half protested. Rin sighed and shook her head. But now Haku will stay with you as well. And it would be easier for you to have an apartment that is modified to fit someone who is blind. Sandaime said, and Tenchi slowly nodded. Good, you agree. Well then, I have lots to do with finding you an apartment, assigning tutors, and, Sandaime started but was cut off. What a moment. Tutors. For who? Tenchi asked. For you. You need to learn to read, write and move the way blind people do, since you are one now. Sandaime said. Naruto couldn't help himself but burst into laughter. Sensei has to return to school. He laughed. Tenchi scowled and grabbed his pillow and threw it at where he thought Naruto was. He hit Sakura dead in the face. Hey, she protested. Did I hit someone? If so, hit Naruto for me and I'm sorry. Tenchi said. Sakura sighed and hit the pillow in Naruto's face. After a bit of a pillow fight between Sakura and Naruto, the visitors started to exit. First Sandame and Hiyashi, then Hanabi and Hinata followed after a while before Tsunade, Shizune and Rin went to find hotel rooms for the two medics. Then, all that was left was Team 7 and Haku. Tenchi laid back down on his pillow, which Sakura had given back to him, and sighed. Well, all this, because of one, he said. Why did they attack? I know they are after Naruto-kun but, Sakura asked and trailed off. I have no idea what they want to do with the demons. But it can't be good. Tenchi said. Ino grinned and jumped up on Tenchi's stomach, knocking the breath out of him. I'm just glad you're back to yourself again. That miserable Tenchi is someone I never want to see again, you hear me? Ino said the last bit very forcibly while giving Tenchi some punches in his chest, mostly playful. Tenchi smiled slightly. I guess I didn't handle it well at all, did I? He said while trying to catch Ino's hands. He didn't succeed. Nope, came the collective response. But now everything will be fine. Haku will help you every day, we will help you when we can, you will learn how to be a ninja without eyes and we will be doing missions together in no time. Sakura said and Tenchi smiled. It could have been worse. Much worse. He replied and all four of the kids nodded. The next day, Tenchi woke up from a knock on the door to his room. Yes. Tenchi asked and someone came in. Well Tenchi-san. It looks like I will be seeing you for a while. A voice came. A Junin had walked in with lots of scrolls and books with him. He wore the usual Junin outfit, except the green vest. He used his forehead protector to cover his hair and wore dark round glasses. Tenchi recognized the voice immediately. Why are you here, Ebisu? Tenchi asked. I'm here to teach you how to function as a blind. The Junin, now known as Ebisu, replied. What? Tenchi yelled before composing himself. How? You aren't blind? He asked and Ebisu smiled while pushing his glasses up on his nose. My mother is blind. She taught me in case I became blind as well, besides it doesn't hurt to know. A blind can feel even the slightest unevenness they touch. But let us start. I hear Haku-san is coming to help you in about 4 hours, so we will begin at least. Ebisu said. And thus started a long session to relearn reading and writing. Tenchi sighed and rubbed his temples. What had been 4 hours of relearning the alphabet was finally over when Haku knocked on the door. Tenchi resisted the urge to kiss her for interrupting. Okay, I guess I will be seeing you after lunch. Ebisu said to Tenchi, who nearly fell out of bed. What? He asked and Ebisu sighed. We are continuing after lunch. Well, I'll see you two then. He said and left. Tenchi sighed and Haku looked at him curiously. Tough lesson? She asked and Tenchi nodded before he got out of the hospital bed. Yeah, but I think I'll get the hang of it. Eventually at least. He said and Haku handed him some clothes. She turned around. Not that Tenchi knew. Hokage-sama has found an apartment that suits both me and you. It is being customized to you now. It should be finished soon. Haku said and Tenchi frowned. What is it that will be different? He asked and Haku thought for a bit. I don't really know. A lot of tags on the doors and stuff, so that you can feel what they are. She replied and Tenchi nodded, although Haku didn't see since she had her back to him. Damn, dressing was a bit harder than it used to. Tenchi mumbled. He discovered that he tried to fit both his legs into one pant's leg. When he corrected that, he found that he had the pants on the wrong way. After a bit of trial and error, he got fully dressed. Okay, now what? Tenchi asked and Haku turned back to him. Now we go to get lunch. Hokage-sama told me I was in charge, so I had to choose where to go. Haku said while taking Tenchi's hand and placing it on her arm. Lead the way, Tenchi said. To Haku and Tenchi, their first walk together was a little weird. For Haku it was the first time leading someone when walking. For Tenchi it was the first time walking without seeing where he was going. This is weird. I don't like this. I feel very helpless now. Tenchi said and Haku chuckled. Don't worry, I won't leave you, she said and Tenchi smiled slightly. We have to get me one of those white canes soon. I want to be able to walk around on my own as well. Tenchi said and nearly stumbled on a stone that Haku hadn't seen. Ops, sorry. Seems like I have to learn as well. Haku said and blushed slightly while she helped Tenchi regain his balance. The two arrived at Ichiraku Ramen and Haku helped Tenchi sit down next to Naruto. Naruto, Sakura and Ino had been waiting for them. Ayame and the old man looked at Tenchi, and noted his bandages. Welcome. What can I get you? The old man asked. Mizu and pork ramen please. Tenchi replied. Vegetarian please. Haku joined in and the old man started making their ramen. Ayame looked at Tenchi. How are you, Sensei? She asked and Tenchi gave a weak smile. Me. I'll be alright, but it'll be a while before I can say I'm alright. He replied. There is no chance of you seeing me again? The old man asked. No, was the simple reply. An uncomfortable silence followed before their meals came. Haku gave Tenchi his chopsticks and started eating. Tenchi tried eating, but it was slow and awkward, but he refused any offer for help. So, Sensei, how was learning to read with your fingers? Sakura asked and Tenchi grimaced. I'm looking forward to when I won't have to study anymore. Ebisu is a weird one, but he is a good teacher, so it won't take too long. I hope, Tenchi replied and Naruto coughed. Ebisu, the closet pervert, he's your tutor? Naruto asked and Tenchi nodded. Naruto howled in laughter at that. What's so funny about Naruto-kun? Ino asked. The closet pervert is weak. I beat him with my harem no. Naruto said while chuckling. Tenchi snorted at that. Ebisu is, as I said, a good teacher, although a bit strange. Tenchi replied. What are you two going to do after lunch? Sakura asked. Tenchi has to go back to the hospital for more lessons. Haku said with a slight laugh at Tenchi's expression. Oh joy, Tenchi mumbled before finishing his food. Tenchi sat in front of Ebisu, trying to remember the alphabet in the sign language the blind used to write. It wasn't easy, but he was getting there. Good Tenchi-san. Keep this as and you'll be reading in no time. Ebisu praised. Thanks, but we aren't there yet. Tenchi said and they continued until it was time for dinner. Dinner in the hospital passed quickly for Tenchi, since it was brought to him, and Haku insisted that she help him. After dinner, the two of them went to the Hokage's office. When they arrived, Tenchi tried to remember where the chairs stood. He just missed and nearly sat down in thin air. Haku giggled and helped him into a real chair. Next time, Tenchi said and Sandaime gave a short but amused laugh. Indeed. Now I am sure you are here to hear about your apartment, right? Sandaime asked and Tenchi nodded. It is on the ground floor, in the same street as the Haruno residence, which I am sure you will be happy for. Sandaime said and Tenchi smiled. Less distance to cover. He replied. I can't tell you much else, other than that it will be finished for you to move in soon. 2-3 days I think. Sandaime said and Tenchi nodded. Will all my possessions be moved there when it is finished? Tenchi asked and Sandaime nodded. Yes, and Haku has received enough money to buy all she needs as well. Sandaime replied. Sounds good, but what about my team? What should I do about their training? Tenchi asked. Sandaime smiled at him and Haku. That is up to you. Just remember that Haku is with you, so she can help. But Sakura and Ino can also train with their family. Naruto though, Sandaime trailed off and Tenchi frowned. What time is it? He asked. 5:30. Sandaime replied and Tenchi stood up. They should be in their training area now then. Shall we go take a look? Tenchi asked Haku. Sure. She replied, but just then someone knocked on the door. Enter. Sandame called and Tsunade came in. Ah, you are here. I was looking for you, Tenshi. Tsunade said and Tenshi turned to her. Oh, why is that? He asked. Tsunade smiled and took out a wrapped gift. She walked over to Tenshi, took his hand and placed the gift in his hand. Here. From me, Shizune and Taunton. Use it well. Tsunade said and Tenshi opened it. When the wrapping he felt 4 rods. Feeling along the rods, he felt that one of them had a rubber dot on the end, 2 were just straight and the last had a handle. All the rods were connected by some sort of string. Take the handle in your hand and push on the top of the handle. Tsunade said and Tenshi did. The 4 rods were pulled together and formed a cane. The cane was made of some sort of lightweight white tree. It reached Tenshi up to a little above his navel. This is, Tenshi said and Tsunade smiled. With that you should be able to walk around unaided. At least after you have learned how to use it, she said and Tenshi smiled. Thank you, he said and started tapping the cane against the ground, feeling his way around. Well then, should we go and see Naruto, Sakura and Ino? Tenshi asked and Haku nodded before taking his arm again. I'll come also. I want to see your team, Tenshi. Tsunade said and followed them towards the training area. Naruto launched a fireball at Sakura, but she raised a mud wall to block it. Suddenly a lot of shuriken came flying from the wall. Naruto dodged to the right and formed seals. Raikyu no, he called and threw the ball of lightning at the wall Sakura hid behind. It started to crumble and Sakura jumped away from it. She formed seals and smirked before drawing her breath and spitting forward several fireballs. Kaden. Hausenka no. She called and Naruto dodged again. Several thunks were heard as the shuriken Sakura had hid inside her fireballs hit a tree behind Naruto. Only Sakura-chan is attacking. Where is Ino-chan? Naruto thought while looking around for his blonde opponent. Suddenly he was hit by a futon from behind. He scrambled away and jumped through some bushes. Finding a place to hide, he started to survey the surroundings. Sakura was in the middle of the training area, trying to find where Naruto was hiding. But he couldn't see Ino, and he didn't hear any movement either. Taking a few sniffs, Naruto's eyes almost popped out of his head and he jumped away so quickly he could, just dodging the air bullet Ino, who was right behind him, had launched. Ino appeared next to Sakura, smiling widely. I almost had him, but he smelled me and got away. Ino said and Sakura grinned. Well, I got him now. She said and true enough, Naruto came flying out of a bush, trying to dodge several wolves that were trying to bite him. Naruto looked up and faced 4 blades, courtesy of his 2 girlfriends. Okay, you win, he said and Ino and Sakura grinned at each other. Naruto then took a sniff of the air and turned toward 3 approaching people. We have visitors, he said. Tenshi, Haku and Tsunade felt the spar as they got closer to the training area. Seems like your students aren't having any trouble training without you. Tsunade said and Tenshi smiled. That's good. They aren't totally dependent on me then. Tenshi replied. After a little while, they felt that the spar was over, and they upped their pace a bit. Arriving at the field, they saw that the 3 genin were waiting. Hello. Tsunade and Haku greeted the genin. Good afternoon. Sakura and Ino replied. Yo. Naruto simply said. How is the training? Tenshi asked. Boring without you. When will you train with us again? Naruto asked. When I can run without tripping over my feet. Tenshi replied. And when is that? Ino asked. Why don't you start with trying to use your chakra to sense your surroundings now? I can help you. Tsunade said and Tenshi nodded. What can we do to help? Sakura asked, looking anxious to help Tenshi. Tsunade and Haku looked at each other and thought for a bit. You can create targets for Tenshi to sense. Tsunade replied. Tenshi, I think you should try to sense them without any chakra first. Hearing and smell I mean. Haku said and Tenshi nodded. Tsunade then drew a circle around Tenchi with some spikes at intervals indicating degrees from him. Okay, let's start, Tsunade said, and the 5 targets positioned themselves around Tenchi at varying distances. Tenchi frowned and tried to use his hearing and smell, but it was hard. He tried not to use chakra to enhance his senses. At a sign from Tsunade, Naruto, who stood about 15 feet from Tenchi, clapped his hands once. Immediately Tenchi's hand shot up and pointed to where he thought he heard Naruto. He missed by about 3 degrees. Then Tsunade gave a short whistle and Tenchi whirled around and pointed towards her. Good Tenchi. You missed, but that was very nice for your first try, Tsunade praised. Tenchi smiled and refocused. After a while, Ino hiccuped and Tenchi pointed at her, and this time he didn't miss. Yay, Sensei. You found me. Ino cheered and Tenchi smiled. 3 down, 2 to go, he said, and Haku and Sakura nodded at each other. Tsunade held her hand in front of her lips, indicating that they should be quiet, and not make things easy for him. It took a while, but suddenly Tenchi turned and pointed at Haku. I don't know, but I think I hear either Sakura or Haku there. She has elevated her breathing. If I smell right, it's Haku, Tenchi said. Yeah, that's right. Now, where is Sakura? Tsunade asked. Tenchi frowned and sniffed a few times. His frown deepened and his ears and nose got a slight blue tint. I can't put more chakra into my nose and ears. I can't smell Sakura, and what I can hear of her is too faint to locate her, Tenchi said, and Tsunade nodded at Sakura, who gave a single loud clap. Tenchi frowned, but didn't move. Sakura clapped again and Tenchi smiled before pointing towards where he thought she was. He missed by 10 degrees. Almost. But good for the first session. Do you want to try the chakra radar now? Tsunade asked and Tenchi nodded. Okay, to begin with you have to form the seals, but when you become familiar enough with the radar, you don't need them, Tsunade explained. She then told Tenchi the seals while forming them. Now feel what I am doing, Tsunade said and sent a short but strong pulse of chakra. Tenchi clearly felt it. When I send the pulse, I feel where it flows. Now you try, Tsunade said and Tenchi nodded. He formed the seals while focusing on everything in his body and sent a short wave of chakra out of them. It didn't go far, not even 1 foot, but Tenchi felt it. He felt how it changed shape on every rock or indentation in the ground. Wow, that was very difficult, but very useful, Tenchi said, and Tsunade chuckled. You felt it that fast? Then it won't take you long until you can use it effectively in battle, Tsunade said, and Tenchi nodded. Then he sent out another pulse, this one reaching 2 feet away from Tenchi. A huge grin spread on Tenchi's face. This is great. I can feel anything. What a rush, he said, and Tsunade gently shook her head. You got it now, you just need practice. Want to try the next? Tsunade asked, and Tenchi nodded eagerly, like a little child ready to get a new present. My, aren't you eager, Sensei? Ino asked, and Tenchi smiled towards her. Of course. By learning this, I can still be a ninja and still have a purpose. Why wouldn't I want to get this fast? Tenchi asked with a smile. Well, let's see it. The next one, Naruto said to Tsunade, who frowned at him. Don't push me, kid, she said, but Naruto just snorted. Tsunade looked at him before shrugging and turning to Tenchi. Okay. The seals are serpent, rat, tiger, bird, ram. Instead of sending the pulse away from you, you focus it around you. Like this, Tsunade said, and a bluish sphere formed around her. She walked slightly around, and the sphere followed, flowing over everything in its path. When she walked up to Haku, the sphere flowed around her and Haku got a blue tint to her. Okay, you try, Tsunade said, and Tenchi smiled. He nodded and formed the seals. He frowned and a small sphere formed around him. He tried to take a few steps, but the sphere dissipated. Again, Tenchi said, and formed the seals again. The sphere formed again, and Tenchi started walking around. This time the sphere held for about a minute before Tenchi stopped. Amazing. When the sphere passes over something, I can't feel fine details, but what I feel is much more stable than what I feel from the pulse. Tenchi said before turning to where he smelt Tsunade. Thank you for teaching me these. He said, and Tsunade smiled. We aren't done yet. Now we have to figure out how you can use your meditation sight. Tsunade said, and Tenchi nodded while sitting down. His face relaxed and his breathing even out. Naruto, Sakura and Ino sat down in front of him, while Haku sat down next to Tenchi. Tsunade remained standing. After about a minute, Tenchi spoke. Something is different, he said, and everyone looked puzzled. How different? Tsunade asked. I didn't have to meditate as deeply to see now. I am in a much lighter meditative state now than I used to. My sight is a bit blurry, and I have a bit of trouble seeing more than 30 feet, about 10 meters, around me. Hold on, I'll try and go deeper. Tenchi said, and everyone unconsciously held their breaths. I see more clearly now, but I still have a bit of trouble with seeing far. I can't see more than 50 feet. About 16 meters. Tenchi said, and Tsunade nodded. I think that the deeper you meditate, the farther you can see. Do you have any ideas of how to use the sight every day? She asked, and Tenchi slowly shook his head. No. Anyone? He asked, but no one had any idea. Hey Fox. Do you have any ideas to help Sensei? Naruto asked. Nope. Not one. I would just kill him and end his misery. Kyuubi said, and Naruto stopped paying attention to him. Kyuubi didn't have any ideas either. Naruto said, and Tenchi nodded, not surprised at all. Tsunade, however, looked like she fell down from the moon. You can talk to him? She asked weakly. Naruto nodded like it was everyday business. Yeah, I have talked to him for a while. He is a moody bastard, but at least he is company. And since he knows I can kill him, he tries to be nice and helpful. Naruto said, and Tsunade turned to Tenchi. And this doesn't bother you at all? She asked, and Tenchi smiled. Of course not. I trust Naruto. I would trust him with my life if I had to. Not that it counts for much now though. Tenchi said, and when he saw that Tsunade didn't feel better, he tried again. Naruto and Kyuubi have a strange relationship, but Kyuubi can't do anything. Naruto can take chakra from Kyuubi, but the fox can't take anything back. If Naruto wants, he can kill Kyuubi. Also, Naruto wouldn't do anything to hurt his friends or anything against Konoha. How can he, since he wants to be the Hokage? Tenchi said, and Tsunade looked at Naruto. You want to be the Hokage? She asked, her voice and expression unreadable. It's my dream, and you better believe I can do it. Naruto said proudly. Sakura and Ino smiled at him, while Haku focused on Tsunade. Tsunade looked at the blonde boy and saw her deceased little brother and her lover. Unconsciously, Tsunade reached up and grabbed her necklace. The necklace that had belonged to her grandfather, the first Hokage. She had given the necklace to her little brother, Naoki, as a birthday gift, and kissed his forehead as good luck when he told her he wanted to be the Hokage. He died the next day. Then it was her lover Dan, who also wanted to be the Hokage. After he told her, she kissed his forehead and gave him the necklace, but he died shortly afterwards while Tsunade tried frantically to heal him, resulting in Tsunade's fear for blood. At that moment, Tsunade saw a striking resemblance between her younger brother and Naruto. Tsunade. Tsunade. Tenchi called, and Tsunade became aware of someone waving his hand in front of her face. It was Naruto. You okay? He asked. Tsunade reacted by shaking her head. Yeah, but what makes you so sure you can become Hokage? She asked Naruto, and he smiled, held up a hand and formed a Rasengan. Tsunade stared at the blue sphere and blinked before whirling towards Tenchi. You taught him that? She asked, and Tenchi nodded. Why? Why teach him something he can't possibly be capable of grasping and knowing the full power of? She asked towards Tenchi. What do you mean? Naruto asked, and Tsunade looked at him. A kid shouldn't try to learn like that. She simply said, and Tenchi frowned. Naruto learned the Rasengan in a much shorter time than I did. He also learned a valuable lesson on arrogance shortly after. Naruto knows true pain, and has compassion and wants to help his friends. He is hard-working, dedicated, and stubborn. He has every quality he needs to have to become a Hokage. Tenchi said seriously. Naruto glared at Tsunade, while Sakura and Ino smiled towards their sensei. Tsunade shrugged. Well, let him. Being Hokage is a piece of shit anyway. She said, and everyone's eyes widened in surprise. Well, except Tenchi. 3 of the 4 Hokages there have died young. My grandfather and his brother wanted to end the war, but they died before they could. Yondaime also died young. Sarutobi Sensei has been lucky to live this long, but he will probably not die soon anyway. Who wants to be Hokage? Only fools. Tsunade said and shrugged again. Naruto, Sakura and Ino were enraged. Tenchi tried to keep calm, while Haku tried to figure out why Tsunade felt like that. Tsunade was about to walk away when she had to dodge the Rasengan Naruto was holding. She jumped away from the attacking boy and shouted to Tenchi. Hey, are you asleep? Your student just attacked me. So what? I want to attack you myself. Beat her good, Naruto, but don't let her touch you. Advice. Sure, Sensei. Naruto said. Tsunade had to dodge another attack. Why are you so angry? She asked, and Naruto snorted. Anyone who talks like that about the old man and the other Hokages deserve a good beating. You don't understand us. We want to protect those we love. We who want to be Hokage have a dream to protect Konoha and make it the best village in the world. I don't know what crawled up your ass, but you don't understand what it means to protect your precious people. Naruto said, and Tsunade looked surprised at him. He thinks like Naoki and Dan. She thought and instantly felt sad when she thought of them. Naruto saw a moment's distraction from Tsunade and charged with a Rasengan ready. She saw this, raised a finger and brought it down in front of her. Upon impact with the ground, she split the earth and Naruto was caught in the miniature crevice that appeared and stumbled. He pushed his free hand into the ground and did a hand spring towards Tsunade. But she was waiting. She flicked Naruto's forehead protector away, and gave him a finger flick straight on the forehead, which sent him flying backwards. Tsunade still has that monster strength, Tenchi thought. Naruto tried to get up, but Sakura held him down. Don't. Just don't. She is too strong. Stay still and let me check for injuries. She commanded, and a green glow came from her hands. She swept her hands over Naruto's body, but found that as always Kyuubi's chakra was healing whatever injury Naruto had. Tsunade looked on in interest as Sakura made her examination. When Naruto and Sakura stood up, Tsunade looked at Tenchi. Who? She just asked. Rin. The reply came, and Tsunade thought for a bit. I have to talk to her about this. Tsunade thought. Kid, you want to prove to me that I am wrong? Tsunade asked, and Naruto nodded. If you can show me that you can summon Gamabunta, the boss for the frogs, then I'll admit that you can become Hokage. I'll even give you this necklace. Tsunade said and pointed to her necklace. And if not? Naruto asked. Then I take all your money. Tsunade said and held up Naruto's money purse. Ah, Gama-chan. Naruto yelled. His name for his purse. Naruto thought for a bit before he nodded. Sure. How long until I can win this? He asked. You have until the Chunin exams. If you can summon Gamabunta by then, you win. Tsunade replied. You're on. Naruto shouted at her. Tenchi shook his head. What is Tenchi? Haku asked. It looks like I have to search for Jiraiya. Tenchi replied. So, no ideas on how you can see. What now? Tsunade asked Tenchi impatiently. I don't know. But I think that since I can see slightly without going as deep as before, I can use it on missions. At least with practice. Tenchi replied. Well, you keep practicing. I'll see you later. Tsunade said. Bye. Tenchi said, but Naruto, Sakura, Ino and Haku kept silent. Tsunade waved and vanished in a poof. Tenchi formed the seals for the sphere and turned towards the genin. Walking up to them, he looked between them. Naruto, Sakura and Ino. He said while pointing at them in turn, getting them right. Yup. Naruto replied. Sakura and Ino. Listen, I want you two to train more with your families. I want to train together with you every other day, but since I am busy with learning to be blind, I can't teach you much yet. Naruto will be training with me until we can find the one who holds the summoning contract for frogs. Is that okay? Tenchi asked and the girls nodded. Sure, Sensei. That means I can learn how to use my family more effectively. Ino said cheerfully. And I can learn more about being a medic. Sakura said. Good. I have told Kakashi to train you three on Saturdays together with his team, but I won't be there. Tenchi said, and the genin looked sad at that. Don't worry. This won't last long. Soon it will be the 5 of us again. Tenchi said, including Haku, who smiled at that. Well, see you later. Ino said, but winced after she said that. She looked at Tenchi, but he didn't seem to have noticed. I have to go home. Mom wanted to show me something. Sakura said. Ramen. Naruto cheered before rushing towards Ichiraku. Tenchi chuckled as he watched his other two students turn and begin walking. Acting quickly, he formed seals and sent a chakra pulse after them. Sakura and Ino smiled as they felt the chakra pass them. He's getting better with each try. Sakura said and Ino nodded. Soon we won't even know he is blind. Ino said. 2 days passed with Tenchi waking up and studying with Ebisu, Haku helping Tenchi while learning a bit herself, Sakura studying with Rin, Ino helping out in her family's flower shop and learning with her father, and Naruto training mostly alone, or helping Tenchi with his training. Then came the big day. The day Tenchi moved into his apartment. Haku and Rin had already been there, getting familiarized with everything. Rin went to get Tenchi, who by now had ditched the bandages and wore dark sunglasses to cover his scars and eyes. Ready to go? Rin asked when they arrived at Tenchi's hospital room. Tenchi nodded eagerly and Rin took his arm and led him towards his new apartment. So, how is the place? Tenchi asked and Rin smiled. You'll like it. It's perfect for you and Haku. She said and Tenchi smiled. How many are waiting to greet me at my new home? He asked. Just Haku, Hokage-sama, Tsunade-sama and Shizune-san. Rin replied. Tenchi just nodded. When they arrived, Haku took Tenchi's arm. Let me show you around. She said and Tenchi nodded. Haku started by showing Tenchi the entrance hall, which had several coat hangers, a closet with marked drawers, a mirror and a shoe rack. Next was the living room. Haku, let me try on my own. Tenchi said and Haku nodded before releasing his arm. Tenchi formed some seals and sent several chakra pulses out in the room. The room is rectangular. Straight ahead of me when I enter from the entrance is a glass door, probably to a garden. The first I sense along the wall to my right is an entrance, probably to the kitchen. If I walk up to the kitchen entrance, I have the dining table at my left. It is big with lots of chairs. In the corner opposite me there is a couch with a table ahead of it. Something is on the table, but I can't sense what it is. Along the wall to my left there are 3 doors, A, square something and A, rectangular something. The last looks like it is a bookshelf. Am I right? Tenchi asked. Yes. Very good Tenchi. Rin praised before giving Tenchi a kiss on the cheek. You should take some time to familiarize yourself with each room, so that you don't need to use chakra each time you walk around here. Tsunade advised. Next room? Sandame asked and Tenchi nodded. Haku led him to the kitchen. Again Tenchi stood in the entrance for a while, using his chakra radar. The kitchen is square, not very large and probably very cozy. I can't see the coloring, so I can't really tell. On the wall in front of me there are a lot of doors, one of them I think is the refrigerator, one is a dishwasher, and I sense a stove as well. To my right, there is a round table with 4 chairs. On the wall to my left there are two doors. Tenshi said and walked up to one of them. He felt for the handle and opened it. Taking one step inside, he took a quick scan. This is a storage room. He said. You're right again, Tenshi. Haku said happily. Tenshi then tried the other door and hit something. Ow. What was that? He asked. Ops. Sorry, didn't warn you about that. It's the stairs leading up to the second floor. We'll take that later. Haku said before leading him towards the next room, the one closest to the entrance hall. Amazing. He can already feel that way. Sandaime whispered to Tsunade and Shizune. But he has to stand still, and take several pulses. He isn't close to returning to active duty yet. Tsunade replied. Still, he shouldn't take too long. Shizune said and Sandaime nodded. I agree, he said. While they had discussed that, Tenshi had scanned the next room. A bathroom. On the wall to my left there is a sink and a closet. Alongside the wall in front of me is a bathtub, I think, and the toilet is to my right. Tenshi said. You missed the laundry basket between the sink and the bathtub and the washer between the bathtub and the toilet. Haku said. Tenshi sent out another pulse and nodded. I have them now. Next. He said. The next room is mine. Do you want to check that out? Haku asked and Tenshi shook his head. No, that won't be necessary. That is yours, and I don't have any business in there. He replied. Haku nodded and took Tenshi to his own room. He entered and once again used his chakra radar. On my left there is a closet. No wait, two actually. One smaller than the other. Next to the closets, there is a desk. Yes, a desk. I think something is already on it. A bed, a large bed, must fit at least two people, is on the wall in front of me and sticks out into the room. On the other side of the bed is a bedside table and something is on the wall. I have a window in the wall to my right, and a table alongside the wall that faces the living room. Tenshi said. Good. The thing that stands up on the wall there is a mirror. The table is there so you can have somewhere to put and work on your weapons, scrolls or something that is too big for the desk. Rin said and gave him a hug. While she did, she leaned in and whispered. I can't wait to test out that bed. It looks comfy. Tenshi chuckled at that. Now, first floor. Haku said. The stair was a simple winding staircase, yet Tenshi stumbled a few times. When they reached the top, there was another door and after that Tenshi used his radar. It feels like the same shape of the room as the living room. But instead of a dining table there is a closet. The couch in the corner is here as well, but now there isn't a glass door, and the couch continues along that wall. Some chairs are in front of the, rather huge, couch. Obviously a sitting group. There are also 3 doors again. Tenshi said. Almost. It isn't a closet, but a fridge. Rin said. She then followed Tenshi over to the first door. A bathroom, just like the one downstairs. She informed me. Tenshi nodded and walked over to the room above Haku's. A simple bedroom with a bed along the wall to my right, no 2 closets, and a desk. All in the same places as mine. Tenshi said and Rin nodded. The last room is the same. Haku said and Tenshi nodded. Okay, so that's everything then? He asked. Nope, you still have a garden left. Rin said before dragging Tenshi downstairs and towards the glass door. By the way, how did you know it was a glass door? Rin asked. The chakra pulse goes through glass, but not wood or concrete. Tenshi explained. Okay, this is the garden. Rin said. Tenshi tried to use his radar, but frowned before shaking his head. No good. There are too many plants and trees. I use too much chakra if I am to sense how the garden is. He said. That is part of the point with it. To provide a place of peace and train your senses. Rin said while leading Tenshi towards the middle of the garden, where a place to sit down was. After sitting down, Tenshi sniffed and smiled. Smells like a sakura tree. He said and Rin smiled before leading Tenshi hand behind him to the trunk of a tree. That's right, she said. So, now I have been everywhere in my apartment. Anything else I need to know, and perhaps don't need to know? Like color. Tenchi said, and Sandaime cleared his voice. Well, what will help you the most is the tags placed everywhere. In the apartment, there are tags on things, showing what the thing is. Like the drawers inside your closet. The tags say what goes in that drawer. That will help you a lot. Sandaime said, and Rin laughed. As for the colors, the living room and the upstairs living room are cream colored. The kitchen is sky blue colored, while the bathrooms are white tiled. She said. My room is pink. Haku said, with a slight blush on her cheeks. You picked that? Tenchi asked. Yes, she did. As for the two guest rooms, one of them is light green, while one is yellow. Rin said. But what about mine? Tenchi asked. Blue. The same radiant blue that your eyes used to have when you fought. Rin said. She thought Tenchi would be sad at the mention of his eyes, but he broke into a huge smile. Thank you. I assume it was you who chose that one. He asked. Nope. It was Sakura. Rin replied. I have to thank her for that. Tenchi said. And thank Ino for your garden. She and her parents worked hard on this. Haku said, and Tenchi nodded. I will, he said. After a few peaceful moments, Sandaime, Tsunade and Shizune rose. Well then, we'll leave you two to get familiar with your new home. Sandaime said, and Tenchi was quick to rise as well. A brief pulse told him where Sandaime was, and Tenchi walked up to him before shaking his hand. Thank you for this. He said. Thank you for becoming accustomed to your new life. Sandaime replied, and Tenchi nodded. I will, he said. Sandaime and Shizune turned to leave, but Tsunade faced Rin. I'll catch up to you, Sarutobi-sensei. I have to talk to Rin and Tenchi for a bit. Tsunade said. Sandaime nodded, and he and Shizune left. What is it, Tsunade? Tenchi asked. Sakura. Tsunade simply replied. What about her? Rin asked. I understand that you have taught her medical skills. Is that true? Tsunade asked. Yes, why shouldn't I? She wants to be a medic, so I teach her. Rin answered. Is she good? Tsunade asked. Rin was surprised at first, but then she acted insulted. She is my daughter after all. Of course she is good. Rin replied. Tsunade looked deep in thought for a while. What's on your mind, Tsunade? Tenchi asked. I saw Sakura perform a basic diagnostic on Naruto. I wanted to ask Rin if Sakura is as talented as I think I saw back then. Tsunade said. Oh, she is. She soaks up medical information like a sponge. Rin said, and Tsunade appeared to reach a decision. Tenchi, Rin, would either of you have anything against me taking Sakura as my apprentice? Tsunade asked. Tenchi and Rin blinked a few times. Excuse me, Tenchi asked, and Tsunade sighed. I can't teach Shizune anything else, and I saw lots of talent in Sakura when she performed that. I think I can make her into a very good medic. Tsunade replied. And I can't? Rin asked, obviously insulted. Yes, but I can help her get better. Besides, I don't have anything better to do, other than go on a gambling trip again, although that sounds very nice. Tsunade said, and got a slightly dreamy look on her face. What's stopping you? Tenchi asked, sounding more hostile than he wanted. That Naruto kid. I want to see how much he can grow. He resembles my little brother so much it isn't funny. Tsunade replied, and Tenchi stifled a smirk. I will agree on one condition. Tenchi said. What? Tsunade asked, while Rin stared at Tenchi. Right now, I can't do anything for Sakura, or Ino, and almost nothing for Naruto either. But I am still their sensei, and when I'm up for it, I will still lead them on missions. I agree with you teaching Sakura on the condition that you don't leave and take her with you. Sakura stays in Konoha, Tenchi said. Rin looked slightly skeptical though, but then she smiled and nodded at Tsunade. I agree. If Sakura wants, then you can teach her. Rin said, and Tsunade smiled. Let's go hear if she wants to then. She said. Tsunade and Rin stood up and left for the Haruno residence, while Tenchi and Haku walked a bit around the garden. In the Haruno residence, Sakura was reading a scroll on chakra scalpels when Rin and Tsunade walked in. Sakura, we want to talk to you. Rin said. What is it, Mom? Sakura asked, curious about what Tsunade wanted. Sakura, do you want to become a medic nin? Tsunade asked. Sakura was surprised but nodded. Do you want to study with me? Tsunade asked, and Sakura was even more surprised now. Huh? She asked, and Rin smiled at her. Tsunade saw your talent, and wants to train you. She said, and was about to say more when Sakura practically burst up from the floor. You mean the legendary Tsunade-sama wants to teach me? Of course I'll accept. Sakura nearly shouted. Both Rin and Tsunade smiled at the eagerness. Good, but remember, it won't be easy. I'll drive you hard, young lady. Tsunade said. Yes, Tsunade-sama, Sakura said while standing to attention, making the two older women chuckle at her. Good. We begin tomorrow, Tsunade said. 2 days later, Naruto, Sakura and Ino stood in front of Tenchi, Haku and Hayate. Tenchi grinned sheepishly and scratched his head. I forgot that Hayate wanted to teach you one last thing, so he will train you for a few days. Tenchi said, and Hayate nodded at him. Tenchi and Haku waved and started to walk away. Okay ka. I want Toko teach you 3 Kof. A final sword is called Tsubaki no Mai. Dance of the Camellia, and is a cavalry effective attack. Kof. After you learn this, Kof, I won't teach you anymore. Kof, Hayate said. But, why not? Naruto asked loudly. Have we learned all you can teach us? Ino asked. Haven't, but my other duties need attention. Kof, I simply don't have time anymore. Kof, Hayate said. Oh, that's too bad, Sensei. Sakura said sadly. Yes, I enjoyed 3. You strong shinobi one day. Kof, actually, you already are. Hayate said. The 3 genin smiled at him before drawing their blades. Okay ka. To do this, you have to be able to find where to strike in an instant. Kof, this dance strikes the point you see in your opponent. Very deadly. Hayate explained. It took Naruto, Sakura and Ino a whole week of hard work with Hayate to master the last sword dance, and it was a bittersweet feeling when they did. Good job. You have become very good with your blades. Use them well, and make me proud. Kof, Hayate said, and the 3 genin smiled at him, or rather Sakura and Ino did. Naruto grinned widely. It was nice learning from you, Sensei. Sakura said politely. Yeah, thank you so much. Ino joined. We'll make you proud for sure. Naruto said confidently, and Hayate smiled. Good. Well then cow, I think it's time for goodbye. Cow will see each other again though. I'm sure of that, he said, and the 3 genin half shouted in unison. Goodbye Sensei. Hayate finished training you? Tenchi asked. He was once again sitting in his garden, and Naruto, Sakura and Ino sat with him, enjoying the sights and smells. Yeah, so what now? Naruto asked. I told you. Sakura will train with Tsunade, Ino with her family, you with me when I can. That is until I can find that damn pervert. Tenchi said, and the 3 genin looked at him in confusion. Pervert? Who? Sakura asked. You'll see. Tenchi said, and wouldn't say anything else on the matter. And so time passed quickly for Team 7. 5 months seemed like they just vanished. Tenchi studied with Ebisu. Haku had decided that she would train together with Naruto, giving Tenchi more time to study, not that he was very happy about that. Ino trained under her father when she wasn't in the flower shop. She wasn't getting as strong as fast as she had before, but she told herself to be patient. And Sakura, she was training under Tsunade, and her medical skills increased dramatically. Tsunade was very surprised at her young student's pace of learning and growing. She once told Rin and Tenchi that Sakura would possibly be better than her at her prime if she continued this growth. She's a machine, just like Shizune was. She learns so fast, I don't know how she does it. Tsunade said, and Tenchi smiled. I know, he said, and the 2 women looked at him. Oh, care to share? Tsunade asked, But Rin suddenly smiled in understanding. She is the team's underdog. She is the one with the least amount of mastery, she has the least amount of chakra, although Ino doesn't have much more than her. I think Sakura felt a little like a burden, so she wants to be an asset to the team by becoming as good a medic as possible. Tenchi explained. Also, she wants to be there for her boyfriend and her best friend. Those three have a unique relationship, and all three of them treasure that, and want to do whatever they can to hold on to that relationship. Sakura uses that as motivation to become better faster. Rin said and Tsunade nodded. Makes sense. Anyway, she is incredible, and I can hardly wait to see how great she will become. Tsunade said and Tenchi agreed. But what about Ino and Naruto? How are they? Rin asked. Ino is working most of the time in the flower shop, and if I know her right, she is starting to get really impatient. She wants to learn, not just stand behind a counter all day. Naruto is similar, although he is growing while sparring and training with Haku. But he too wants to learn, and I still haven't found Jiraiya. Tenchi said and Tsunade sighed. I can't say I'm looking forward to seeing him again. That pervert, she said and Rin sighed too, remembering a time she had caught him peeking at her. On the other hand, I have made a lot of improvements and I think I soon am ready to train at least Ino again. At the very least I can train them in between the second and third exams. Tenchi said and Tsunade looked at him. How much have you learned now? She asked and he frowned. I can read now, although it isn't fast, and I can write, but it often gets wrong and I have to retry. Luckily Haku and Ebisu are great help. I can walk around using only my cane. My chakra radar is much easier to use now, but I still need the hand seals. The chakra sphere is just as big as yours, Tsunade. But I still can't see without meditating. So I have decided to only use that when in a fight, or in other emergencies. Tenchi said and both Tsunade and Rin nodded, although Rin already knew of his improvements. What about your senses? Tsunade asked. I focus better now. I can find you by your breaths now. I can feel distortions in the air when people move, and I suspect that with enough practice I can probably feel an attack that way as well. My nose has always been good, and it hasn't really improved much. I concentrate more on it now though, so I notice it more than before. Tenchi explained. A few moments of silence went past until Tenchi turned his head towards the apartment and the four approaching people. 4 people are coming. Naruto, Sakura, Ino and Haku. Tenchi said after taking a few sniffs of air. True enough, they came through the glass door, walked over and sat down with the 3 already there. Yo, Tenchi said with a smile. Hey Sensei. Naruto, Sakura and Ino called. How are you 4 today? Rin asked. Bored. Naruto and Ino replied while Sakura and Haku laughed. Sensei, when can you begin training us again? My dad won't teach me much. Ino asked. Soon Ino. Soon. I just have to finish learning to read and write before I focus on other things. It shouldn't take too long. Also, I and Ebisu have begun searching for the summoner for frogs. That reminds me, I still haven't heard from Kara. I have to send her a letter or something. It would be good for Ino to get the contract for Hawks soon. Tenchi said and Naruto frowned. Kara? He asked. The Hawk summoner, stupid. Ino said and Naruto pouted at her. In any case, I and Ebisu are going to be searching for a few days, partly to find the frog-loving pervert, but also to see if I am ready for active duty. Tenchi said and the group stared at him. So soon? Sakura asked. Have you really improved that much? Tsunade asked and Tenchi nodded. Yeah, I think so. At least with Haku helping me. He said and Haku smiled. So, where are we going? She asked. The hot spring, Tenchi, Rin and Tsunade said at the same time. The next day, Tenchi, Haku and Ebisu traveled from Konoha to the nearest hot spring town, hoping to find Jiraiya. On the way, Haku and Ebisu observed how Tenchi handled himself. Both were impressed actually. They were jumping from tree to tree, and Tenchi didn't need any help at all. At first he sent out chakra pulses as regular intervals, feeling exactly where things around him were. When he landed on a branch, and sometimes he didn't lose his balance at all, and the times he at least partially lost balance, he grabbed the branch with chakra before pushing off again. Then he changed and used the chakra sphere. He looked a bit more uncertain with it, since he didn't have the range of sight as when he used the pulses, but he pushed that away. Haku noticed that Tenchi was struggling less with his balance when he used the sphere. When they came to the hot springs, Ebisu had a suggestion. Why not try and see now? He said, and Tenchi nodded before relaxing his body. After a few minutes, he looked around. Okay, I'm ready. If he is here, then he should be around, there. Tenchi said and grinned before pointing towards a fence that hid the women's part of the springs. At the fence, a white-haired man sat crouched down, peeking through a hole in the fence. That man is committing a shameless act. Ebisu yelled before charging towards Jiraiya. Or he would have, if he were touching the ground. But Tenchi was holding him in the air. I know he is, but he can beat you in a second. Let me handle this. Tenchi said and let Ebisu down on the ground again. He then walked towards the peeking man, silently. He decided not to use his sight, so he exited his meditative state, and went by the sounds of giggling from the man. Jiraiya, Tenchi said clearly when he was behind the older man. Said man whirled around and stared at him. Tenchi, he asked, and Tenchi nodded. Yes, I have to talk to you, Jiraiya-sama. Tenchi said, and Jiraiya looked suspiciously at the dark sunglasses. What's with the shades? He asked. Tenchi's shoulders slumped slightly. Please come with me, Jiraiya-sama. He said, took out his cane and turned around and began walking back to Haku and Ebisu. Jiraiya felt torn in between following and continuing with the peeking, but he followed after a few moments of thought. We were very lucky that he was here. Tenchi said when he reached Haku and Ebisu. Both agreed. Tenchi turned around when Jiraiya reached them. And who is this? He asked when he spotted Haku. My name is Haku, and I am Tenchi's caretaker. She said. Jiraiya frowned at that before he noticed Ebisu. And Ebisu as well. How are you? Jiraiya asked. I'm good, Jiraiya-sama. Ebisu answered. So, what's up? Jiraiya asked, pointing to Tenchi's cane. Of course, Tenchi didn't see that. Depends on what you mean. Tenchi said calmly. Jiraiya tried to look into the sunglasses, but they were too dark. Then he looked over Tenchi again, lingering on the cane and the shades. No, Jiraiya simply said, not sounding too happy. No, what? Haku asked, although she had a good idea. How did you become blind? Jiraiya asked, and Tenchi became tense. Not here. I'll tell you later. But more importantly, Jiraiya-sama, I have 3 students. One of them is studying with Tsunade, one is with her father, although I should probably take over soon, and the last is on his own with Haku. Since I became blind, I haven't been able to train them much. That is why I came to see you. Tenchi said. Jiraiya frowned. What are you getting at? He asked. I want you to train my students. Tenchi simply said. Jiraiya stared at him before turning around. No, I had one team and you know what happened to them. I'm not taking any more students. Jiraiya said firmly before beginning to walk back to the fence. He knows Rasengan. Tenchi said. That stopped Jiraiya. He slowly turned around, and both Ebisu and Haku were taken aback by the cold fury in his eyes. Why would you teach that to your brat? Jiraiya asked coldly. Tenchi lowered his head for a moment before raising it again, and Jiraiya was sure that if he could have seen his eyes, they would have been glowing. Uzumaki Naruto, was the simple reply from Tenchi. Jiraiya stared at him for a few moments before his eyes widened. He began but was cut off by Tenchi. He is my student, and I think I decided whether or not to teach him Rasengan. After all he has been through, he is still sane and loyal to Konoha. Also, he resembles Sensei so much it's scary. I don't want to force you, but I need your help. I can't make him a good enough ninja on my own. Not now. Besides, I think you would have fun training him. Tenchi said, and Jiraiya missed the sadistic tone in Tenchi's voice. How so? Jiraiya asked. He mastered Rasengan in less than a month. Tenchi simply said, and Jiraiya's eyes almost popped out of his head. What? How the? But, Jiraiya said, and Tenchi laughed slightly. He learns very fast. He is no genius like the Uchiha and Hyuga, but he is very hard-working. Tenchi said. And stubborn. Don't forget to be stubborn. Haku joined in. Yes. And that. He has a shitload of chakra, and in a few years I plan to teach him the heavenly light. Tenchi said, and Jiraiya looked at him before shaking his head. You should be a salesman. Alright, let me take a look at this kid. Jiraiya said, and Tenchi smiled. Thank you. They were close to Konoha when Jiraiya asked again. How did you become blind? Tenchi sighed and stopped on the branch he just landed on. Itachi. He and his partner in the Akatsuki attacked, I fought them, and killed the partner. Both Itachi and I used our best, but he won and burned away my eyes. I would have been dead if it wasn't for my mask. Tenchi said, and Jiraiya shook his head. Ouch. How are you now? He asked. Physically just fine. I have learned enough to start returning to active duty again. But mentally I haven't healed yet. I still have nightmares. Tenchi said calmly. Nightmares? Ebisu and Jiraiya asked. About how useless I am now that I am blind. I know it isn't true, but that doesn't stop me from having nightmares. Tenchi said, and Ebisu turned to Haku, who looked sad. You don't seem surprised at that. He said, and Haku looked at him. I knew that Tenchi still had nightmares. I hear him every time he has one. She said. It appeared that Tenchi was impatient though. Come on, let's go. He said, and started jumping from tree to tree again. So this is the brat? Jiraiya asked. Tenchi and Haku had found Naruto in a training area, practicing with his cage bunshin. Yes. Tenchi replied and jumped down from the tree he was hiding in. Haku and Jiraiya followed. Naruto. Tenchi called, and the blonde boy looked up and ran over to his sensei. Hey, are you here to train me? Naruto asked. Nope. I want you to meet someone. This is Jiraiya, the frog summoner. Tenchi said, and Naruto looked at the summoner. Jiraiya was a tall and well-built man. He wore green clothes with a red vest. His hair was in a long spiky tail, and his forehead protector was weird with two spikes resembling horns and a kanji for oil on. Naruto was puzzled about the red lines on Jiraiya's face, wondering if they were tattooed on. He doesn't look like much. Both Jiraiya and Naruto said at the same time. They stared at each other before Jiraiya grinned. Oh no, Tenchi thought. Well, let me introduce myself, brat. Jiraiya said, and prepared his introduction dance by summoning and standing on a frog that reached up to Tenchi's stomach. He did a half bow and flipped his hair into the air. I am Mayuboku Mountain's monk of the frog spirits. Also known as the frog hermit. Jiraiya said while stepping on the frog's head with one foot and striking a dramatic pose with one arm in front of him and the other in the air. Then the frog disappeared in a cloud of smoke, and Jiraiya started hopping on one leg, sideways. But the title, Frog Hermit, is merely a disguise. Jiraiya said, striking another dramatic pose. I shall tell you my true identity, he continued, grabbing his hair and swirling it around in circles above his head. I am the man who has no enemies in the north, south, east and west, not even in the heavens. I am one of the Sanin. And the frog was back with Jiraiya on top. White-haired frog tamer, even a crying baby would stare in awe, the great Jiraiya-sama. That is me. Jiraiya finished with another dramatic pose. Naruto stared at the strange display. Haku's jaw was on the ground, and for the first time Tenchi was glad he couldn't see. This man, I have completely lost respect for him. Haku thought. Huh. Came from Naruto, and Jiraiya stared in disbelief. No way. He was unaffected. Everyone falls over in awe when I do that. Jiraiya thought. Just then Naruto remembered something Tenchi had said. Wait. Aren't you a pervert? Naruto called, pointing at Jiraiya. He is. We found him peeping in the hot springs. Haku said before Jiraiya could say anything. I'll let you know that I was researching for inspiration on my book. The Great Ika Ika Paradise. Jiraiya said and whipped out the same book that Kakashi always reads. Naruto recognized it and pointed again. Ah, I knew it. You arrow senin. Perverted hermit, Naruto called. Jiraiya blinked, Haku blinked and Tenchi would have blinked if he could have. Then Haku and Tenchi fell over, laughing. Oh, that was good Naruto. Tenchi said between laughs. Jiraiya on the other hand glared. First at Naruto, and then at the two that were laughing. I don't see what's so funny. Jiraiya said dryly, making Haku and Tenchi laugh even more. So, brat, show me why I should grace you with my teachings. Jiraiya said. Naruto looked at Tenchi, who nodded. Naruto grinned and walked up to a tree while forming a Rasengan. He then thrust the Rasengan against the tree and moments later the tree groaned and fell down with a boom. Jiraiya looked interested and looked at Tenchi for a moment before walking up to Naruto. So, you can do the Rasengan. Impressive, but what are you going to use it for? Jiraiya asked. Naruto looked at him for a moment before grinning. To protect my precious people. He said simply. Jiraiya blinked before he roared with laughter. He then turned to Tenchi. Tenchi, go and teach other students. You were right, this brat is interesting. I'll train him for you. Jiraiya said before turning to Naruto. Brat, you are now my student. Be proud and work hard. And most importantly, show me that sexy no jutsu of yours. Jiraiya said with a lecherous grin. Tenchi groaned. Jiraiya-sama, please try and be serious for once. You know who is after Naruto, and he needs to be strong. Tenchi said and Jiraiya's grin disappeared and was replaced by a serious look. Yeah, I know. Just one thing before you go. How do you know the brat won't become arrogant and get an ego the size of a mountain from all this power? Jiraiya asked and Tenchi smiled sadly at Naruto, who looked down on the ground. He was like that once. After his first kill, he had mastered Rasengan, he felt invincible. But then Itachi and Kisame attacked. Naruto attacked on his own, and got his ass whooped. I'd say that was a good lesson on not to become arrogant and overconfident. Tenchi said. Jiraiya nodded and Haku took Tenchi's arm as a sign that it was time to go. Tenchi nodded at her before smiling at Naruto. Alright, I leave Naruto in your care. Teach him well. Naruto, I'm sorry I can't train you myself, but I can't. Don't worry, Jiraiya-sama will make you strong. He also knows you are Naruto, and not the fox. Be a good student, and don't be a stranger. I'll see you later. Tenchi said and turned to leave. Sensei, Haku-chan, I'll see you later. Naruto said cheerfully. Haku waved and followed Tenchi. Brat. Jiraiya said and Naruto looked at him. What? Arrow Senin? Naruto asked. Stop with that. It's Jiraiya. Jiraiya said irritatedly and Naruto smirked at him. I'll call you something else when you stop with the brat. Naruto said and Jiraiya smirked. No deal. Anyway, I hear you can summon it. Jiraiya said and Naruto smirked. Yeah, want me to show you? This was just the beginning, the real secret will unfold in the next episode. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And hit the bell icon so you'll be the first to see what happens next. See you again in the next journey of Uzumaki Empire 2.0.